Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey! Tuesday! Mike Polk's in the house.
Victory.
Love the Doug Deacon shirt.
Thank you so
That's
much.
An old
I didn't even
throwback.
know that. Look at that.
It's one of those ones. It really could. If I turn the wrong way, it could fall apart right on camera because it's so old.
By the
Or
way,
his
playing
mustache
days.
must just fall off
I mean,
if I
that's-
clean it one more time.
That's not a mustache. That's a porn stash. Right?
That is a porn
Is that
stash.
subliminal?
Yeah, it's telling you something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, it
That's
is.
a man
No
stash.
doubt.
Right
Oh,
now,
yeah,
right
it
now, right now, if you look at it, it's selling Built Bars. That's how subliminal it is.
Bars?
Wow, McNuggets is busy. He didn't even hear that.
No.
No, listen, I heard
Or he
Built
would've
Bar.
pounced.
We actually had, real quick, Bull, I think he tagged you in it too. Someone tweeted at us that they bought Built Bars.
Yes.
And by the way, promo code LOCKEDON15, buy your Built Bars. No integrated retail. Let's just get it out the way. We love Built
Yeah,
Bars. They're
right.
delicious. He said, I can't wait to try these. I'm not sure if, Bull, you saw the follow-up. He said they were delicious.
I
Best
did see
protein
that.
bar he's ever had.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
So shout out. I will get the guy's name by the end of the show. I have to go back in my mentions
We've all
to
had
find
them. They're
it.
great.
Oh,
But
man.
Locked On
It's a
15,
fact.
full
Yep.
of protein. Great way to start your morning. Buy Built Bars. We
Right.
love Built Bars.
The only
Unintentional.
the
ad
only
read.
thing my family ate on Thanksgiving was Built Bars.
That's it.
That's all we had.
Did they use Locked On
poured the
15?
gravy on? We just poured gravy on them. They all eat Built
Did they
Bars.
use their Locked On 15 code?
They did.
Hey, man,
We did.
if you put Built Bars with gravy, you're going to be locked up. That's the code. Locked up. Code. all
up
day.
help.
All week locked up.
Yeah.
Still not regular.
Yeah.
By the way, guys,
Don't put gravy on that.
Before we get into sports, I got to tell you a story. It took 51 plus years, but I got conned for the first time in my life.
You've never been conned before?
Never been conned that I know of. Maybe I was and don't realize.
It might happen all the time. They were just very good
Right.
con men.
He was saved all his critical thinking for you.
But I
and
got-
he got conned.
But I got conned, right? So Saturday night, I mentioned yesterday, we went out to dinner with Leroy and Bernie Kosar and a bunch of other people. So I don't like valet parking. I will avoid it whenever I can because I don't like other people driving my car.
Sure.
My car's nothing special. I just don't like other people driving my car.
Some people are like that.
And so I didn't do the valet parking at Johnny's, and I went around the corner on that little side street next to Johnny's. It's a little, almost like an alleyway, but it's a street.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
And
about.
there's a couple of lots there. So I pull into the one lot. There's a guy standing there, and he goes, I said, how much? He goes, $20. And at first I was like, that sounds crazy
There's
for a
no
random Saturday
event
night. But
Saturday
there
night.
was an event,
Oh, there was.
the freaking tree lighting.
Yeah.
Because downtown was nuts.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
You got
that's
characters
right.
like Mike Polk who want to show up to watch a tree get lit. Why anybody want to do that, I don't know.
You think it was my idea to go to the tree lighting bowl?
Yeah.
You think I was like, oh, we got to get down
Do
there.
you think he's autonomous?
he
Do
lost
you
that
really
vote.
believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
There were
Yes.
2 votes. It was deadlocked.
Right.
And
And
we
hit-
know how that goes.
Yes.
I talked my way out of us having to wear matching outfits.
Oh, my gosh.
I consider it a win.
That is a win.
that is a
To
win.
get out
Yeah.
of that.
So
I pull in a lot. I'm like, all right, $20. I guess, whatever. There's an event going on. That kind of makes sense.
Could have valeted for 7 at Johnny's.
Right.
But
I don't care. It's not even the money. I didn't care about spending $20.
Right,
I was like,
right.
all right, whatever. That's the cost of, So I pull in the lot. Don't think anything of it. The guy's like, yeah, tree lighting tonight. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks, guy. And so I go into the restaurant. We're there for 4 hours, of course.
Uh-oh.
I get back to my car.
You've got a ticket.
And there's a ticket on my car. It says you owe $13 you didn't pay. And I'm like, what? And then I look and see at the front it says, to pay you got to go blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. That guy was just scamming me.
yeah.
standing there, phantom. I call
And
him phantom parking attendant.
Here's why I bought it. He had a book of things, and he put one in my car.
See,
He had props.
He had props.
you gotta respect a good.
So I
grill.
go online to pay. I go online.
Hey, hats off to him.
Yep.
Salute.
Yeah, he worked me.
You should have said, "Can I get a receipt?"
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I wonder what that book was for.
It said Raya Lots. It looked legit. Like it probably was legit. He probably got it from a buddy.
It was just the jumble, like it was a book of just the jumble, probably. That's
I
my
have
guess.
no
And
idea.
you know what? He can knock down if there's no ticket. Did he give you? He didn't give you a ticket, right?
He gave me
He
something.
gave you a ticket.
He gave me
This guy's
something.
next
dude-
level.
But it obviously wasn't legit.
The game
and so
is-
I go on the website to see what I got to pay there, and they said dispute the tickets. I'm like, all right, let me see if I can dispute it. So I dispute, and I write, some guy, I pulled in, the guy said $20, I paid it.
Yeah.
I got a response back in like an hour.
Sucker!
Yeah, we don't have anybody working at those lots. So I got conned.
I wish it would have just said "sucker"
So it ended
over
up,
your email.
So it ended up costing me $33 to park.
Did the guy
Wow.
did the guy have a vest on?
No. I'll be
man.
honest. I should have known because my radar was going off. The guy looked a little sketchy.
Was he holding a beer?
No, but
he was smoking.
He was a little sketchy.
But
But a lot of those guys are sketchy.
Exactly.
So, you know.
I validated the same place Bull was at. I was there.
Yeah.
Here's how you always got to do it. You go up to law enforcement was out and about. I said, officer, which one of these is the valet guy? Went around the corner and got the guy, right? Did me square?
Oh, that's true. That would be even worse to get conned that way. Then you
Yeah.
lose,
What
at least I'd lose my
valet
car.
charge you?
It was like $12.
Yeah, because there was an event. I think normally it's
What
7,
if-
but with an
yeah.
event.
What if that guy's really smart? Then there's a guy dressed as a cop right near the scene, so that when you come up, he's like, no, he's legitimate. That
Yeah,
guy's-
I'll
They
vouch
deserve-
for him.
They
Guy's
deserve
the real
all the bread.
deal.
I will tell you, Sundays
Gives
when I
him
do the
$5.
tailgate, Sundays on the tailgate, it's $60.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Where do you park for the tailgate show?
Right by the lot.
Well, the
Like-
station picks that up, right?
No. They'll pick what up? What's the pickup?
The station picks that up.
60.
But 60.
But you've got to be there for your job.
Yeah.
They don't care.
We used to
absurd.
back in the day. We used to be at the lot. It's like a player's lot by the by the pier over there where the Good Time 3 is.
Yeah.
Don't
right.
you get it? They
Here's
don't
what-
give you a pass for the stadium?
No.
Anybody though, I'm telling you, anybody paying $60 to park in downtown Cleveland is somebody who doesn't want to walk 2 blocks. If you aren't right in the epicenter of whatever
Yeah,
is going
you
on,
can do
if
better.
you're willing to walk 3 blocks away, then you can park for $15 anywhere in the state.
All my little free little spots, they cleaned all of them up. They got the
Yeah,
old
they
signs.
did.
They cleaned
Yeah.
them up about.
I mean, you
last year about halfway, they got smart and was like, hold on. Are we missing a little bit of money?
Do you remember the free parking spot Sir Yacht told us about?
Yeah.
No longer free.
I heard
Nah,
that.
they
Yeah, I heard
up
that's
outta
no
here.
longer-
Is that the one
the
on
police
Short
listen to the
Vincent?
show. They watch it daily. They heard Sir Yacht talk about
Yeah.
it, and
By the way, since
Close that loophole right now.
Well, I got I have a broadcasting company, a LLC, so I just write it off.
That's good.
Just
The
write it
radio
off.
station should be
I'll
paying for
get
that.
that.
I can't believe the radio station
Yeah.
does it. I mean, if you don't go there and now $60, they might not pick up that. But to Mike's point, yeah, you can find a parking lot
Right.
within a couple of blocks for
Yeah.
15, 20
He's
bucks.
got to be not willing to. You don't have to see the rock. You don't have to like see the Rocket Mortgage Arena right in front of you.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean.
I'll be wanting to leave and be in my car and be halfway home by the time anybody
Right,
knows
right.
anything.
I hear you.
Well, you got to pay for that extravagance.
Yeah, you do.
True.
Yeah,
Bye.
that luxury.
I take you out. That's how just
By the
like
way,
Batman.
but still before we get to sports, I got to tell one more quick story.
Okay.
Because we have somebody broke the record for the laziest person ever, and it wasn't me. And I can be lazy at times, no doubt.
Wow.
But yesterday, I went to Mitchell's, got a little ice cream.
What?
Right? Who could have guessed?
Was there an occasion?
So I wanted
Yeah,
ice cream.
it was
That
Victory Monday.
That was Victory Monday. Thank you. I
You only
walk
get 2
out.
of those a year, G. Bush.
I walk out. There's a woman in her car
Yeah.
who pulled. There's one spot in front of Mitchell's where you could pull up and they will bring your ice cream out to you.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Now they first
That's
put
next
those.
level.
They first put
Those
those
were
spots
COVID.
there because of COVID.
Right, yeah.
Which I get.
Yeah.
And not that COVID's not around anymore. It still is, but we're 99.9% of us are living life.
Yeah.
Just
People have moved
whatever.
past it and realized it's not
do
going
the
to
best
kill
we can,
everybody.
right? So now there's no excuse for that.
Right.
And this woman called from her car and had her ice cream
That's
brought.
next level.
You only have to walk like 10 yards, maybe.
Did she eat the ice cream in the spot?
I don't know.
If she would have ate it in the spot,
Yeah, that would have been.
that would have been lazy. But she probably took it to go. Okay, this was the spot's for. She just gave him the system, I guess, right?
That's what it's for. It's
Yeah,
for
but that
pickups
is
at Mitchell's.
that's a pretty shameful delivery.
Especially because you're gonna consume about 1,000 calories. Like burn off 20.
Are you
Just
gonna
walk to the counter?
Like,
1,000 is light.
The poor, 19-year-old girl that's got to walk out and hand you your ice cream.
She's like, no, I'm not busy. I'm just
gonna
taking care
tip
of
her at
75
least?
people.
Nope, she did.
Hey, she did not.
She didn't tip her?
She didn't tip
Yeah,
her.
that's kind of person.
By the way, I again, I'm going to sidetrack us one more time. I hate that I have to tip when I do pickup.
Yeah, but they guilt you into it.
You always now they put it on the credit card. It's like
Yeah, you got to hit either like 12%, 18%, 20%, none.
it's like, do I
And who's
really
gonna hit
have
the
to
none?
give a tip because you handed me the bag?
Yeah,
And
that's
you know
what it's come to.
that is
You're paying the
that's
wages.
a restaurant owner saying help me subsidize further
Right.
my employees. Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. We're
Good
back
night,
tomorrow at
everybody.
11 o'clock when we will talk sports. We'll
complain about more things.
I got plenty of other things to complain
No,
about.
we're 10 minutes in. We haven't mentioned anything about anything yet.
Nah, that's true.
Mary Kay Cabot's coming up on the show. She's scheduled to. If we have time for her, we'll squeeze her in.
Yeah.
Aditi's on the show. She's working the Browns-Texans game on Sunday.
right.
So, too, by the way, is Jay Feely. If we want to reach out to Jay, Jay will come on.
Who, by the way, Jay, did you see his tweet yesterday?
I did. I talked to Jay later.
Yeah.
Jay went
Yeah.
back and watched every
love it.
single kick.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, publicly, he's not going. His public blast is going to be a little different than, there's part of the fraternity. He's not going to roll on a special teams person.
Right.
Well,
He's
but
not going to do that.
But he said it was Cade York's fault, so
Well, it was. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the kick on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back and looked at it. I didn't get a great angle of the hold and the snap
Yeah.
and everything, but everything looked to happen on time.
Yeah.
That's totally on Cade York.
Yeah.
He sent me a long diatribe about how with each miss, particularly as a rookie, with each miss, the pressure gets ramped up.
Oh, sure.
And, we've talked a lot about the process of kicking, and the more pressure there is, if you're not good at mentally eliminating the situation, you will be affected by it. And so he said what's happening with Cade, he thinks, is you miss the Chargers game really set him back.
Yeah.
He missed the game winner. He was 0 for 2. He said a game like that, it just takes one of those. A game like that can send a guy spiraling.
Yeah.
Not that he's spiraling, but he doesn't think we're seeing the real Cade York because
Right.
of that. Aditi's on Good Bet, Bad Bet. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Cavs, who just wrapped up their road trip. They've lost 2 of 3. Last night was tough. Back-to-back, they just, Donovan Mitchell
Didn't show
looked like some guy.
Yeah.
They didn't show up. And that's going to happen. They're still in the 3 slot in the East. Everything's jumbled up. It's very close. It's very early. But we'll talk about the Cavs. All right, we're going to start today's show, and I love this. Dreams versus nightmares. We're going to talk best case scenario. Obviously, best case scenario from here, the Browns finish 10-7.
Sure.
There's 6 games left.
That is literally the best case
That is
scenario.
the best case. Folks, I'm sorry they can't get to 11 wins. I know everybody is giving me every scenario known to mankind in my email box. It can't happen.
Yeah.
They can get to 10 wins. The worst case scenario, we don't want to think about this, is 4-13. We want you guys to give us, there's 6 games for Deshaun. Best case, what is his record? Worst case, what is his record? And also, give us touchdowns to interceptions, too. So, Bull, you can start.
Yeah.
6 games left.
So-
What do you think he can do?
I think the best case scenario is he goes 5-1. That's really pushing it because the guy hasn't played in 2 years and the team has shown no consistency at all. As much as I think Deshaun Watson is going to be a great quarterback for the Browns in the long run when he's here, he's not going to be great from the moment he steps on the field for 6 games without flaws. I just don't see it. And the Browns as a team have given you no reason to believe that they can win 6. So me even saying 5-1, I think is pretty crazy. I'm saying that because I do think he's going to play well, and I think their schedule is very manageable. If I had to bet what they finish the rest of the way, I'd probably bet 4-2. But the best case, realistic to me, is 5-1. The worst case I see is 3-3. I don't think they'll do any worse than 3-3 the rest of the way, which they would end up at 7-10. I picked them to go 8-9 in the beginning of the year, and I think they're going to finish probably 8-9 or 9-8. And as far as Deshaun Watson, best case scenario for him personally is like 15 touchdowns and 3 picks. I think that's the best case.
That'd be outstanding if he could do
I mean,
that.
that would be amazing.
Everybody
if he could.
would take that.
I
It's almost
think
3
maybe,
per game.
Yeah, maybe that's not realistic. I think it is. because I think he has the talent around him to do that. Ultimately, I think he's going to play well, but not like all. I think people are going get too carried away. He's the second best quarterback. He's the top 5 quarterback. He's a very talented quarterback who 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and 4 years ago was a top 10 quarterback. At times was the top 5 quarterback. But we got to give him a moment to be that guy. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to blow it out of the water from the moment.
15-3 and 5-1 would be
amazing.
Exceptional.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be
so
that
that's
good.
his ceiling for you.
But that's the ceiling. Yes.
Well,
Mike,
real quick, what's the worst case scenario stats wise? What's your worst case?
I would say how many games? 6 games. No.
6 games.
6 games. Yeah. I would say the worst case scenario is 6 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Ooh, that would be
bad.
Actually, on a ratio basis, it would be worse than what we had from Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Mike, what do you got? Best case, worst case.
Here's where I'm at. Mine are both pretty close to each other because I think he's likely to come out slow, and I know he's got this perfect matchup game. I mean, other than where it's at and the history there, I'm talking about just from a pure football perspective. This team's just complete trash, which can work essentially as a preseason game for him. Problem is, we already saw him in a preseason game and some preseason action. It didn't look very good.
Wow, but it was 6 passes.
I know. But the point is, he hasn't played football in a really long time. And I just think about like how I'm not trying to compare these things in reality, but this is more of a metaphor. I'm just thinking about how like my friends and I played like a turkey bowl. We used to. I don't do it anymore. But every Thanksgiving, a tackle football game until we were way too old. Like no pads, tackle in the snow. And these are men who at this point have not used any parts of their body in that way in an entire year since the last Turkey Bowl. Mm-hmm. Well, you felt, especially the last few years you did that, once we were into our like 30s and stuff like that, you felt like you got hit by a truck for 2 weeks afterwards because there's no matter how much he exercises or anything, there's no way of comparing that kind of trauma you're inflicting upon your body unless you do it in live game action. So I think he's going to start slower than most people think that he will. And so I think best case scenario is 4-2. I think because I also think that the schedule is not nearly as weak as some of us are pretending like it is, and I haven't seen anything that can prove we can beat these teams just by adding this quarterback who hasn't played with us yet at this point in the season. Maybe it will. It might be a magical thing, but I think even I just don't see us beating like Cincinnati again, so we're just writing them off because we've had some good history against them. I don't think that that's necessarily a given that some people seem to think that it is. And one of these other teams is definitely going to beat us. Best case scenario is 4-2, but I do think the worst case scenario to me is probably 3-3 because they're going to end up winning 3 of these games the more I look at it. So I think it's a very close window. I think it's going to be right in there. Touchdowns to interceptions, I would say best case scenario 12-4, worst case scenario 10-6. Again, pretty close to each other.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
G. Bush?
Well, G. Bush is back on the sticks. You've been waiting for this, haven't you?
He's been reeled. By the way, he has been officially reeled in.
Yeah,
yes.
Like he took the bait.
Yeah. So, by the way, best case scenario, 6-0. What you talking about? 6-0.
Yeah.
Because
AFC North champs.
Hey, listen, we get everything to fly our way. Right. 6-0.
Okay, well, of course, best case scenario is obviously 6-0, and worst case scenario is 0-6.
Yeah.
But you're saying
what
that
you realistically think their best case scenario is.
See, this is.
I think realistic's got to be better than a 10% chance for me.
This
And the Browns don't have a better than 10% chance of going 6-0.
But even that is not realistic. Of course, best case scenario is 6-0.
Well, you haven't break it down yet.
Yeah, go ahead, break it down. We can't do that. 6-0. You know why you?
I love his youthful enthusiasm. I really do, because that was me once upon a time, not that long ago.
Hey, I was just here talking about Jacoby Brissett and run defense. You think I'm not about to get up here and be happy? Forget that. Everybody in the chat is like, hell yeah, let's go.
I hope they don't lose Sunday. He'll be a wreck.
Oh, listen,
he'll be a mess.
Hey, listen, if we throw for 3,
everyone should be fired.
Now
change the name.
All that running we was talking about doing with Chubb, screw the running, bull. 20 carries.
I got Chubb on my fantasy team. I needed
12 carries for Chubb, 96 passes for Deshaun Watson. All right, here we go. The reason all jokes aside, the reason I think you can be upside of 6-0 is this. I've seen Kevin Stefanski make garbage quarterbacks look good.
Yeah.
See? Baker Mayfield had 2 years. Baker Mayfield had 2 whole years where he threw the ball and people was wide open.
His best year wasn't even under Kevin Stefanski, though.
What, you mean the breaking the record?
Yeah.
But I believe the best he's ever played is the 8 games in 2020.
You do?
I believe those are the best games he's ever looked. Because I was on Baker's case earlier that year. I was like, he got to go. He got to go. And then all of a sudden, he just wouldn't throw interceptions no more. He was throwing the ball. He was hitting people.
Right.
Even in his losses, remember the loss to the Ravens at home? It was either, I believe it was Sunday night, Sunday or Thursday night.
Yeah.
They ended up losing that game, but Baker brought them all the way back.
Looked great.
To get the lead.
Looked
Looked
great.
awesome.
Looked like an NFL quarterback.
Man, I was like, okay, well, we're going to rock with Baker then. After that, the wheels fell off. But then just take a look at what happened with Jacoby Brissett. Everybody and their mother was like, first of all, Jacoby Brissett been chilling forever. He hasn't had no OTAs. And then even when they said he was going to get the job, he still wasn't even getting first-team reps. They were still splitting with Deshaun Watson until he went on his suspension. But look what happened to Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, he was a little rusty in a couple games, but by all intents and purposes, Jacoby Brissett is about to make himself some money.
No. I'm not buying that, by the way.
Well, you're not buying he's going to start next year for somebody?
I don't think he has a guaranteed starting job.
I wouldn't say guaranteed, but
he'll make money, though.
He'll make money.
He'll
gonna get
make
more.
quality backup money as well.
Well, there we go. He made himself some money. There
are 8 teams right now that need a quarterback. There are not 8 quarterbacks coming out in the draft.
We're going to talk about that in overtime
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
That's exactly our overtime segment. Shout out to Anthony.
So, and here's the thing that you can set up. You see, here's the fantasy approach to this, right? If Deshaun Watson don't look good with his arm, he also has his legs.
Sure.
So that's a portion that if you say, he only threw for 150 yards, but he got 100 on the ground and 2 touchdowns,
right.
you like, well, he's balling. See, that's the smoke and mirrors that you can have, the effect. It's the same playbook, the Michael Vick coming out of jail playbook. Mike Vick came out of the penitentiary, and it was like, Mike Vick is still fast. We're going to do some read option. We're going to do some of this other stuff. We're going to get a couple of deep shot passes. He still got arm strength. If he hits on any of those, we're ready to go. And then finally, I will say this. If he's going to go 6-0, I think I like the 15-3. I'll up the ante. If you're going to go 6-0, there's one of the games you got to have a 4-touchdown game. I'm going to go 16-3. 16-3 for touchdowns.
You are all in.
That's the best case. Now, the worst case scenario is the worst anybody can come up with.
0-6.
No, I say 1-5.
You could come up with those.
I could come up with those, but I don't think they'll lose to the Texans. I just don't think they got it in them, and I think the Browns will come out super amped. But the worst case scenario for anybody is the Browns win, they don't win convincingly, and sometime during that game, Deshaun Watson has an injury and is out for the rest of the season.
Well, see, I'm not even factoring that in. I'm not
Done.
factoring. I'm assuming he plays 6 games.
And even in that case, I feel like we could say like the worst case would be if there was some sort of terrorist situation at the game.
Yeah, right.
And they opened fire on the field.
But here's why
You got Jacoby as a backup if that happens.
That's the worst case scenario.
And you don't think they could win a game with Jacoby as a backup?
It's not that. It's the simple fact that you got a lot of bread invested.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You got a whole hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's already, and I'm just giving you the facts, he's already torn 2 ACLs, right? Now, I just gave you the flip side. He can run around, right?
Sure.
And he'll probably use his legs more than he probably should if it isn't there.
Yeah.
And one thing that you don't want to do when you've torn all ACLs and you've had a whole lot of time to chill and relax, the soft tissue injuries, the hamstrings, the cutting on turf, all that good stuff, that does not lead. I don't like it. He got to get through this season for me, all 6 games. If he makes it through all 6, I think that's great.
That's a win.
That's a win for me.
Yeah.
We good. We go to next season. But if he play one game and then you got Jacoby Brissett in, trust me, you know how many people gonna say, well, we might as well keep Jacoby Brissett. We got to keep Jacoby, especially if Jacoby come back in the game and win 4. They go 4-2 down the backstretch.
Sure. At that point, he knows the system. He had a good year.
He had a great year.
And there are not going to be a lot of options because you won't do it through the draft.
And he won't be, at this late in the process, any sort of injury automatically means no OTAs, no practice, and he probably won't even start throwing and doing all that other good
All right,
stuff
well, we
after
can't-
the season.
I'm not worried about no injury.
Well, I am.
Listen. You make the point that he's had 2.
He's had 2. It ain't like
When they
like
rebuild you, they don't make you stronger and faster. That was just the $6 million
Unless
man
you're the bionic-
nonsense.
Yeah, $6 million.
In real life,
And the
you're
$6
not
million
stronger, and you're
woman.
not faster, and you're not as
Yeah.
durable, and that's a real fear. You've gone through it. I've gone through it. We know.
You understand.
It is a real
The
fear.
only one thing I wanted to respond to G was Deshaun Watson, excellent athlete, can run the ball, but he's not Lamar, Justin Fields, Michael Vick. He's not that kind of player. He ain't looking to run like those guys do. He's never had 100 yards in an NFL game rushing.
Well, here's the thing. He's even more
He's
dangerous.
never. I think he's only had over 50 yards like 3 or 4 times.
Unlike Lamar.
He can, though, when the pocket breaks down.
No,
that's
absolutely.
An option for him.
It's an advantage they have versus
And our
Brissett.
offensive line is not.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not expecting him to rush for 100 yards in a game.
But
He's not looking to do it like those guys do.
Well, I'm talking more around the goal line. Around the goal line,
Absolutely.
inside the red zone.
Yeah.
And the more dangerous part is when he's moving around and running, he's looking to extend plays to throw the ball down the field.
100%. Yeah.
So
Yep.
Again, your youthful enthusiasm is cute. I love it. I really do. Because it reminds me of me not that long ago.
Like a month ago.
Jay,
When they were 0 and 9, I said they could win out.
You're right. It's not impossible.
One win.
Jay's my agent. He tells me, this ain't good. You might want to move on this one. Pump your brakes on this
But
one.
I do love it.
Now,
I love the enthusiasm.
Give me the reality check.
But there was one thing that's the elephant in the room, and nobody brought it up. We still have Joe Woods. And
Well, I brought up that they've shown no consistency. That was
but nobody specifically said
fair.
the best case scenario is this cat will be on the field for half the game.
Okay.
And that also means he'll be off the field for half the game.
That's a really good point.
And I'm looking at it strictly from a defensive standpoint.
Just remember, though, Joe Woods is good now because of this past week. So now we all like
the
Joe Woods.
32nd ranked run
And we have
offense.
we have
and
the
they didn't
memory of
trust him.
drunk goldfish.
But it is fair that a better quarterback does make a defense
Yes,
better.
100%.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
We used to call them two-a-day goggles. When you put you in the dorms and then you
Sure.
get out and you see a girl, you be like, oh my God.
Yeah, right.
These are the Tom Brady goggles. We did Joe Woods ball.
Yeah.
So because of that, because we still are what we are on defense, and don't be fooled by the Tampa Bay
I'm
gimmick.
not, yeah.
That was a one-off.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking about that tomorrow. That is one of our
I mean,
topics for tomorrow.
that was the biggest smoke and mirror
We have
mirage
Tyvis, so he'll help us
of all time.
figure it out.
All right.
Now we might see it again this week because the Texans' offense is hideous.
Well, look, I almost this is a win.
Yeah.
So my worst case scenario is 1-5. That's my worst case scenario. They're
Yeah.
winning. They're winning Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, my best case scenario is 4-2. And I think the reason I went 4-2 is because when you look at the schedule, if Deshaun is who we think he is, now remember, Seattle or Denver thought they were getting good Russell Wilson. He's got 5 touchdown passes for
He's
the year.
horrible.
Maybe
He's horrible.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
They would love to get out of his contract.
That's
right now.
unbelievable to
Yeah.
me. Guys do get old. Guys do lose their fastball. Now I
Yep.
know that Deshaun
Watson's
is
a lot
younger.
younger,
He
yeah.
is younger, but it happens.
You never know.
You can have Baker go from a year where he looks like he's finally arrived to this guy can't load the equipment truck for a team right now. So it happens. I'm not predicting that, but I'm saying there will absolutely be rust. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and he was like, "Well, it's not like he hasn't been throwing the football." I get that, but the speed hasn't been what it is.
He
in
hasn't
game.
taken a hit.
He hasn't been hit in 23 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you might say, well, good, he's healthy, right? But to your point, when you're in a car accident every week, it becomes routine, and you
Yep.
just deal with it.
It is
He hasn't
facts.
been hit by a car in 23 weeks.
Yep.
Months.
And he is going, or months, he's
Yeah.
going to get hit.
Yeah.
So I just think if he completely balls out and we get some luck, because I know the schedule is favorable, but New Orleans and Washington are both teams that are very similar to this Browns team. I know they have better records, but they look a lot like these Browns
They're
teams.
similar in terms of the same class of team.
Same class.
Yes, I agree.
Same section.
I agree.
They have the same lot in life right now.
Yes.
Their records are a little better. But I think in general, when I watch Washington and New Orleans, I kind of see
Yeah,
a
and
lot
the
of the
Browns
Browns.
have a much better quarterback situation than those teams.
Right.
But those teams have other things that are better. I
Yes.
agree. They're the same level of team.
Now, Cincinnati will have Chase back, and they will have Mixon back
Yeah.
by the time they get to host Cleveland.
Yeah.
They are going to take out a lot of frustration on the Browns. That's an L. That is an L. I'm sorry. I don't know
agree.
how they've done it for as long as they've done
agree.
it against this team. They've been convincing wins. They've been thorough beatdowns. I don't get it, but it's going to end when we go to Cincinnati. Baltimore, I feel like in my 4-2 best case scenario, I feel they beat Baltimore. I just think that if Watson by then will be up to speed, hopefully, I just think that 4-2 is the high end and 1-5 is the low end. I think from a touchdown standpoint, I'm going to be shocked if he throws more than 12. I'm giving him 12 touchdowns and 5 picks.
It's a lot. I mean, 12. We went
2 a game.
crazy. 12 is a lot.
It's 2 a game.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard him say 16, I'm like, damn,
How about
you are really all in.
Go up top.
So I think 12 is the best case scenario. I think the worst case scenario is, I think you said 6-4.
I said 6
and 4. That's what I have. I think he could throw a touchdown a game, not quite a pick a game.
Yeah.
And we are what if that happens, 4-2, then you finish 8-9, which is pretty much where
we
all
predicted
said they would be.
Yeah.
So 8-9 gets them in where I figured they would be, but he's got to ball out to do that, and I don't know if he can go 4-2.
Real quick, Jay, you mentioned it. Polk, you mentioned it. G. Bush, you said 5-1 is realistic. Oh, you said 6-0, so you're not losing any games. Bull, you said 5-1. What's the one game they lose?
Cincinnati.
I agree with
that was Donnie M. Donnie M. wanted us to ask, and you guys
I
all
got
went.
it.
If Cincinnati lose to the Browns, they might as well chalk it up. Chalk it up again. Like, they can't keep losing to the Browns every single week.
See, to me,
It's not a good look.
But at that point, Taylor becomes, Ryan Day.
To me, the only to me, it's getting overblown because it's only first of all, it's only 3 years. Before that, the Bengals had been kicking the Browns' ass for a while.
Yeah.
And it's really only 2 games because the first year with Burrow, they had Burrow, yes, but the Bengals sucked that first year with Burrow. It was his rookie year. They finished with one of the worst records in the league. The Browns have 2 big-time legit wins over good Bengals teams.
Their first game
the
against
first
them
game
last year
and the first game.
But it's a small sample size. I
So that's
totally agree.
Yeah.
All right,
We got
very
Mary
good.
Kay, by the way, but before we bring Mary Kay in, we do have to say we're doing overtime content today. If Brissett gets another starting job, where's it going? If you want to see that, you got to become a member. $4.99, $1.99, 2 different tiers. Less than $60 a month. Exclusive content you can only see as a member.
$60 a
And you
year.
get to hang out.
You
with
got to be
us
in the
cool
$4.99 tier to get the overtime.
Yeah.
So Mary
so
Kay,
it's
what's
less
up?
than
Earl
60 a
also
year.
says hi.
I swear like a sailor in that.
Hi,
thing,
Mary
too,
Kay.
Every time. Hi, Mary Kay.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Awesome.
Mary Kay, good to see you. We're doing best case, worst case scenario. We won't have you go through every game, but what's the best case that the Browns finish from here with Watson, and what's the worst case in your mind?
Well, I'll tell you what, I see a football team that is putting it together at the right time. I see the defense really coming around. I mean, can you say more good things about Martin Emerson? I mean, when you have a player playing like that, when I look back at that game against the Bucs, if he had not shut down Mike Evans the way that he did, I think the Bucs win that football game. I see Myles Garrett ready to strap this defense on his back and take it for a ride. So I see the stars really starting to shine at the same time Deshaun is coming back. People seem to forget this team was built to go to the Super Bowl this year. That's why you have Nick Chubb, Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, David Njoku. I've been saying for 2 years, David Njoku is at least an 8 touchdown a year tight end. So I see this team really heating up at the right time. And I'll tell you what, if they don't make the playoffs, there will be a lot of teams thanking their lucky stars because I don't think many teams would want to face this Cleveland Browns team in the playoffs.
So it sounds like you think they could run the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can. I'll tell you what, I think they can. Even the Cincinnati Bengals, they match up so well against the Bengals. They just have this belief and confidence that they can shut down the Bengals. The way that they run their offense, the Bengals do, without all the fancy bells and whistles, I do think that there's a good chance that they can beat those Bengals again. I don't see any team in the final 6 that they cannot beat. It just seems doable. Now, will it happen? You always have a dud. Somewhere along the line, you lose to a team that you're supposed to beat and things don't go your way, or weather can be the great equalizer. But I'm more in the camp of, a 5-1. I think they can go 6-0, but everything would have to be perfect for that to happen.
Sure.
Mary
Mike,
Kay,
Wait, hold on one second.
sorry,
I gotta
Mike.
say
Go
one
ahead,
thing.
Stephen.
Mary Kay just mentioned Martin Emerson on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, Brian Baldinger from NFL Network, who breaks down all the tape, tweeted this out this morning. Martin Emerson played the single best game I've watched any cornerback in the NFL play through 12 weeks this season against the GOAT and an elite receiver. And he has a whole play-by-play breakdown. You take the tweet full. We can't show the video, but Mary Kay saw it. Brian Baldinger. Here's a tweet right here. Steve can pull it up. The single best game he's watched any cornerback play.
Baldy's good at breaking down tape, too.
Baldy's the best.
Martin Emerson, you did a great in-depth piece on his father that I just read, Mary Kay, that was everybody should check out on Cleveland.com. It was very interesting. Real quick question about him. Remind me how this guy was available in the third round.
Well, he doesn't have a ton of speed, and I think sometimes when you look at a cornerback and you see, a 4.5 something, that might turn people off a little bit. But he played against really, really a high level of competition in the SEC at Mississippi State. And I'll tell you what, I got to know Martin in writing this feature story about him. I got to know his dad. I know how his mind works. And this is an amazing young man. Fans should get behind him. I think he's got Pro Bowl potential. I talked to Terrell Buckley about him, the 15-year NFL cornerback who has won a Super Bowl. He coached him at Mississippi State. He actually brought him to Mississippi State and recruited him. And he said he's a day one starter. He should have been a first-round pick, and you guys are just going to love him. The Browns did their homework and did a great job on him. So, when you have players like that coming through and coming up big in big games, that's what you need to get you over the hump in some of these final 6 games.
Mary Kay, I am with you on your enthusiasm for the offense, certainly. I mean, I think there's no limit to how good the offense can be, although the offensive line has not been quite as good the last couple of weeks, so hopefully they'll figure that out. But I just don't have – Emerson's been amazing. Love him. And obviously Myles Garrett's great. But nobody else on the defense has shown any consistency at all. And although I think Watson will be able to make up for more of the deficiencies on defense, and when we did our best case, I said 5-1 too. So it's not like I'm that negative. But I just don't have a lot of faith in the if I had to bet, I'd say they go 4-2 the rest of the way. Because I think that's optimistic because I just got no faith in the defense playing consistently well. The offense, yes. The defense, no. You seem to have more confidence in this defense playing consistently well. Tell us why, because we've only really seen it against Cincinnati and Tampa. They haven't really played well against anybody else.
Well, I can see 4-2 as well. Like you said, I mean, everything would have to be perfect for them to do better than that. Yeah. And the defense has not been consistent. And here's the reason why the defense hasn't been consistent. Even more so, way more so than Joe Woods. I look at a defense that, first of all, they thought Jordan Elliott was going to be a star. They thought Grant Delpit was going to step up this year and be a star. And some of those things didn't quite happen the way they thought they would. And then at the same time, you lose Anthony Walker for the season. You lose Jacob Phillips for the season. You lose Myles Garrett flips his car and he's not himself for 3 games. Jadeveon Clowney misses 4 games. JOK misses 3 or 4 games. And it goes on and on and on. I could keep going with that. Denzel Ward missed 3 games. Now Greg Newsome is up. They haven't had a full complement. They have not seen their whole defense together. And I think they are starting to put it together now. And they figured some things out at linebacker. They figured out that, hey, we need Sione Takitaki on the field most of the time. I mean, he's playing really well. JOK is back now. He's starting to pop a little bit. And then Myles, as I said before, I think once he flipped that car and realized that he hurt his football team, I think he's been on a mission to really get this team to where it needs to go. And I think that if they do end up, running the table and winning out, he will be a large reason for that. Martin will be a large reason for that. And some of these other guys are really starting to pop.
Mary Kay, I like the energy level you came in. There's a cold, you obviously got to this cold glass of Kool-Aid that I've been passing out starting today. It's cold, it's frothy, it's really good. It's one of those, it's almost like Harry Buffalo.
Is it purple?
It's purple slash red a little bit.
It is Harry Buffalo.
And don't eat the fruit unless you want to be coherent.
Right.
Don't touch the fruit. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm looking at it like this. If you tell me that I just beat Tom Brady
He ain't Tom Brady anymore. Let's be honest.
Hey, listen, if I beat Tom Brady in tiddlywinks, I'm raising my hand. I beat Tom Brady at something. I'm going to take that, especially for this defense.
That's true.
They come off this defense, and then here's the funny thing about winning. We all picked them to beat the Texans, right? So now you talk about going to beat the Texans, and now that's 2 in a row. Now you start to put some things together, and God forbid Joe Woods has another performance where his defense plays solid. Kevin Stefanski can now go in front of the press and say, look, man, I told you this offense would be different. I told you we were trending in the right direction. It's a funny thing how synergy works. You were around when Greg Williams took over for the Browns, right before Freddie Kitchens. And you saw how that kind of came together. Greg Williams was the head coach. They went on that late run at the back of the year. It was almost reminds me of the same thing with this because they were kind of already out of playoff contention, but every win they got, it got louder and louder and louder. And by the end of the season, the Browns were playing pretty good ball.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be playing your best football at this time of year. This is when you want to put it all together. And I do think they can. Again, all of the stars would have to align properly for it to happen, but they certainly have the talent to do it. It's not like we're saying, hey, the Texans are going to rally and win their final 6 games, right? I mean, that's not what's going on here. This is the Cleveland Browns, and this is a talent-loaded football team. So if they can get hot, they can absolutely win every one of those games. When I look at Baltimore right now, I mean, they're up there in their press conferences trying to figure out why they can't score in the red zone. I mean, the Browns will have a field day with that if they're struggling in that regard. Again, I think the defense has put it together. Now, can they come up with another dud of a game? Not going to happen this weekend. It could happen against the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals, they want to get that monkey off their back. They certainly want to prove that they can beat the Cleveland Browns, and they will have Jamar Chase back, and they will have Joe Mixon back. So that's not going to be an easy out by any stretch of the imagination. And probably, obviously, it'll be those division games, the Bengals and the Ravens that they probably are going to have to beat more so than anybody. And they have to make sure that they really don't lose their focus for some of those other easier games. But this is a good enough football team to win out. No question about it.
I'm a little nervous that, and I agree with you, I believe this, but I'm a little nervous that we have all just flattened the road bump that could be the Houston Texans. There's really nobody here was even concerned about them. They've played some games this year
that worst team.
I know they are, but you know how the NFL is, Bull. The difference between even 1-10 and 3-8 or 4-7 is small.
I do think right now the Texans are the only. I think of the other 31 teams, most of them can beat most of them. I think the Texans are the one exception.
I know. Whenever the
Texans could still win this game. It's the NFL.
Yes,
of course.
But no one here has even mentioned that
they're just so bad.
I do think.
I think what we're leaving off the table is how pissed they are.
Yeah.
And what that crowd is going to be.
I don't know that the players are going to be that pissed. I'm not convinced of that. The crowd will be.
It's going to be.
And we don't know how that's going to affect Watson. That's fair. I mean, he hasn't had to deal with it.
I think that we are all considering that if somehow we lose this game, then this is an entirely different conversation. And so, all of this is kind of moot because we're in a totally different place as a football team than we thought we were at, and then we just have to start over and have a whole new discussion.
If they lose,
it wouldn't be the first time we've done that, by the way.
No, it wouldn't be.
Ripped up our plan.
If they lose this, I'm calling off with RSV or what is that thing called? RSVP?
RSVP, no, the respiratory virus.
By the way, 10 minutes ago, G said Stefanski's done great things with bad quarterbacks. If the Browns lose to the Texans, he's calling for Stefanski to be fired. True?
No, I'll put it on Woods.
Mary Kay, what do you think about the crowd in Houston? It's got to be kind of uninspiring for a fan base to come and watch a 1-9 team exclusively out of spite. Are we counting on that? Because that's really what they would be doing this for. It's people parking and driving there and paying for hot dogs and beer just to boo someone that they, rightfully or wrong, feel like they really want to give the business to. What do you think he has to look forward to?
Well, again, when you have a 1-9-1 team, it really is hard to draw up a lot of enthusiasm for that, especially during the holiday season. People want to go out and get their shopping done and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if they're going to be able to work themselves up into the kind of lather that everyone sort of expects. But there is a story out there today that Tony Busby is going to have a suite at this game and has invited a number of Deshaun's accusers to the game. So I think, that's going to be a story. There's going to be, there could be protests, there could be signs, and Deshaun is going to have to figure out a way to really, as Kevin Stefanski said yesterday, put those blinders on and try not to let any of this stuff get to him. That could be one thing that, that could have an impact on this football game. But, everybody's going to have to pull together and be very mentally tough to get through some of the stuff that they're going to have to deal with in the final 6 games.
Mary Kay, let me ask you about that, because I think this is – I'll ask you for your opinion before I give mine. Tony Busby inviting the alleged victims to the game. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm not surprised, because Tony Busby has really taken the opportunity all along at every single key point to make sure that the victims are heard, that they're seen, and he's used that and done that very, very strategically. The one thing that I find that people might have a little bit of a problem with is, if you have settled with Deshaun, if you have settled your lawsuit, and you have a bunch of money that you have gotten from this situation, then, I think that it would be fair to at least question showing up in Tony Busby's suite under those circumstances.
Why would they want to go?
Right.
Why would the women want to go?
To me, they're being used as props.
Yeah, it's weird.
More than anything, does it hurt the idea of them being traumatized?
Yes.
That concept, if
Yes.
you're just like, well, what, there's free nachos in the suite? Yeah, I'll go check that out.
The thing for me is, if Busby wanted to do something for these women, which, by the way, he's made a lot of money off of them.
Yeah.
If he truly wanted to do something for them,
crazy.
he would do it in a quiet, private manner. He would rent out a restaurant, have them bring their families and friends. Forget the media. My God, why does this have to be a media circus? And
He's
as
a
far as
sleazebag.
being
We know
heard,
that.
the cases, for the most part, have been settled. I guess there's still 2 pending cases.
Yeah.
But it just seems like such a dirtbag move to now ride the backs of these alleged victims, as he's using them as props. And we're going to take the bait. There will be media that interview them that will breathe more life into this story.
Yeah.
It just feels really, really dirty.
Busby's
to
a
me.
sleazebag.
It actually reminds me of when Donald Trump invited victims of Bill Clinton to
I remember
to
that. You're
to a
absolutely
debate
right.
with Hillary Clinton.
You're absolutely right. It's just
Well, he couldn't fit all his victims in the building.
it's just dirty. It's
Hey,
sleazy.
that was well timed. I'll give you that, Bull. That was well timed.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
it's
wish,
sleazy.
I
Busby's
know
a
this,
sleazebag.
this
I
is
mean,
going to
he
be.
is.
Hey, we talked yesterday about what we think will happen tomorrow during player availability. I can't imagine that the Browns don't make him available. I'm sure he will speak. The media is going to have a ton of questions, obviously, more than the Browns want him to answer. What do you think is a fair, if you're going to split the time, 100% of the time, split it, how much do you think is going to be devoted to this football game and him coming back, and what percentage do you think of the questions are going to be devoted to the issue?
Well, of course, I think Deshaun is going to try to keep bringing it back to football. That's what he's going to want to do. He's not going to want to give a lot of details about, what he's been through, what the treatment has been like, what these last 11 weeks have been like. I think he's going to want to spin it forward and talk about football. I know that we will try to ask all the questions that we possibly can, having to do with the off the field issues. And now, of course, having to, have accusers in a suite at the game. I mean, you have to ask all of that stuff. There will also be time constraints on the interview, and there will also be question constraints. You can't get all your questions in. I mean, I'll be lucky to get 1 or 2 questions in, and we will be tripping over each other to shout out those questions and to, to interrupt each other. It's just, it's a very difficult situation. It's not like you take a number and, and you get called upon. It's not like that. It's like you have to, you really kind of have to be aggressive to even get a question in. So, I think they will cut it off at a certain point. I think they'll be very strategic about that, and we won't get everything covered. And then, of course, we will be criticized because we didn't ask this and we didn't ask that and we didn't ask this. But we will not be able to do that. And that's the thing that people don't understand. It's not like, okay, go. You guys have 45 minutes. Ask everything you want, and we will call on all of you whenever you want to be called on.
Yeah,
it's not like
that. And I imagine that Peter or so. I think there will be ground rules. You know better than I do because you're there for those. But I just feel like this is something that the Browns are really going to want to get out in front of, and maybe even before he comes out, perhaps there's a spokesperson that addresses the group and says, look, I know you guys have a million questions. Here's the way we're going to do this. Do you feel that there will be that sort of preemptive ground rules or no?
Do we even know for sure he's talking tomorrow?
We don't know if he's for sure that he's talking tomorrow, but that is the normal course of action. As we all know, quarterbacks talk on Wednesdays, but there will be no ground rules. They're not going to do that. They haven't done that to us the other times that Deshaun has talked, and they won't do it this time either. They would be heavily criticized for that type of censorship of questions. That's not going to happen. We'll have a chance to ask whatever we want to the extent that we can. Again, I'll be lucky to get in a second question, and that's just the reality of the situation. So again, we'll do the best that we can. It's not like you have him one-on-one and you can get into the flow of an interview. It's just not going to be like that. And then if you have national media coming, they can kind of take over and be very aggressive with certain things. So we'll just, like I said, we'll do the best that we can with it. But this might not be the best interview that we have with Deshaun.
Mary Kay, let me just get this for a second. Trust me, then you'll get the real question in. Mary Kay, let me give you some advice. An elbow to the gut of Shadell, and he's out. One elbow and Shadell's gone. All right? You knock out Grossi. Grossi's lost in the soup anyway. You knock him right the hell out. Now, Tom Withers is in good shape. Tom could be a bit of a challenge. You might not be able to knock him out. Scott Petrak and Nate Ulrich, those guys can't keep up with you. So a couple of elbows, few knees, I think you're good.
That's true. Good advice.
You said you got to be aggressive.
Good advice.
Beat the crap out of your colleagues.
We're not advocating violence.
See, Mary Kay, me and Mike Polk know a thing or two about not getting questions off, right?
That's true. 100%.
You just got shut down hard.
Right.
You got Heisman right
there.
there.
Yeah, right. You got Heisman, and we talking about people's waiting.
I think Mary Kay to kick somebody's ass for crying out loud.
Please ask your question because I'm sure it's a good one.
Go ahead.
So, now here's the thing. We talked about this yesterday, and we kind of went around the horn, and we had differing opinions on what is the best plan of action for Deshaun Watson. He's been gone 11 weeks. Obviously, part of his program should be, what are we going to say to the media when you get in front of them? Because the last time y'all saw him, it did not go as well as we would have liked it to go. In this case, I think it would be the best plan of action to actually take as many questions as possible. I think half the reason that people, may not really want to hear what he has to say, or some of the people who are against him, is because he had to answer some of those questions very well from the local or national media. Don't you think it would help his case if he does come out and it seems like, hey, it might be a little rehearsed, but he was calm, he had poise, he answered all our questions, and at least he was coherent in his messaging when he came back? Because I think, and Jay said it, if he just shuts it out and says we're not going to talk about that, you guys are going to have follow-up after follow-up after follow-up because you haven't gotten your questions out. What are just your thoughts on the whole overall situation?
I think he needs to strike the balance between, talking about what he's been through to the extent that he can. And of course, some of it falls under HIPAA laws with the treatment program that he has gone through and all of that. I think he should answer some of the questions about what he has learned and how he has grown during this time and potentially how he has changed. I think he has to be careful of hitting that angle too hard again, that I stand on my innocence. That's where he ran into trouble last time. He needs to kind of give a little bit on the fact that he had to learn some things in this 11 games. I think that would help him a lot just in the court of public opinion to show that he views things differently now, and that he's not coming out of this the same person that he was going into this. I think that would help. But if I were him, I would also, I would try to bring it back to football as much as I can. And I don't think, of course, it would be perfect for us if they would just let it go on and on and on and on. But I just think from a team standpoint and a Deshaun standpoint, they should make it as normal as possible. That's not what you would do on a Wednesday with a quarterback. You're not going to let them talk for a half an hour. They talk for about 15, 20 minutes. And I think that's about what they should give this in this first interview. Or he does stand the risk of getting himself into some verbal trouble.
Do we know anything at all about the league mandated hoops that he had to go through? I'm assuming that whatever they were, he complied with everything, or he wouldn't have been reinstated. Do you know anything else about what happened, what he had to do, and the boxes that he had to check to come back?
Well, I know he had to go through the treatment program, and
Right.
it was, a really comprehensive treatment program, but we don't know details about that program. But
Okay.
we do know that he worked with professionals in the area of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, and he had to learn a lot about himself, and he had to make sure that he was not compliant just from a showing up standpoint, but also from a growth standpoint. And so I just don't think he would be getting back on the field if he hadn't done that. And, that would probably be a good thing for him to explain, that he did have to learn some things. And now he understands when he gets himself in a situation again, one-on-one situation with, a female, a massage therapist or some other person or situation, that he will handle it differently than he did before. I think that it would be really good for him to demonstrate that.
Yeah, that is certainly the hope, and we can't have any. I mean, we know that there was a somewhat recent accusation made against him that his attorney actually fired back on, but we can't have any new new revelations that happened since he's become a Cleveland Brown, or this thing can unravel quickly and go sideways very fast.
Thanks, Mary Kay.
Yeah, Mary Kay, thank you so much for your time. Always great to have you on. Appreciate your knowledge, and
Appreciate you.
Good luck tomorrow in the scrum. I know those can be pretty hectic, but I feel confident you'll get at least the over/under on questions for you is 2.
Yeah, you're right.
So I know we're going to get to at least 2.
Okay. Thanks for the support. I really appreciate it.
There you go, Mary Kay. We'll see you later.
Hall of
Thanks,
Famer Mary
guys.
Kay. I feel like every time we
Yes.
need to have her on,
Yeah.
we need to throw the
You guys
disclaimer
really,
on there.
if you haven't, you
Hall of
really
Famer.
should read that piece on Emerson.
Pretty good.
And
You want to
it's
give us a
Emerson's-
quick synopsis?
Emerson's dad had like a bit of a checkered past,
Did he?
but Emerson came up. It was pretty rough. Hard scrabble life.
Sure.
Dad was in jail for a little bit, got out, got his kids back. The mom went to jail for a little bit. So there was a lot of that going on, but they had a nice support system. But at the root, he was just a good, motivated dad who wanted to make sure that his kid got on track and stayed on track. And
Wonderful.
he overcame a lot to get the kid on the right page, and got a lot of early mornings, made him work at his landscaping company.
Wow.
Put a work ethic in the kid that is very visible today. And
Sure.
she lays it out really well. It's
Dad's turned it around, and their relationship is great.
Yeah, and I actually bumped into his dad when we was down in Carolina for that Panthers game.
Oh, you said that you had.
Yep, and we ended up talking to him. We're doing like just some man on the street stuff.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's like, "And I am Emerson's dad." I'm like, "Wow, what's going on?"
Buried
man?"
the lead.
Yeah, but it was, and he was a real affable dude. But it was,
Good.
that's a great story so far this year.
Wonderful.
I got a Martin Emerson story real quick.
Cool.
Sure.
Also, Mary Kay, I know she's still
Mike's trying to
on.
one-up
I'll
you
offer
right now.
Earl and Anthony as
What's
security
that?
tomorrow.
Mike's
If
trying
we
to
need to throw
one-up
some
you.
elbows. We'll send out Earl and Anthony with Mary Kay to make sure she gets through. A&M played Mississippi State when Emerson was there 2 years
right,
ago at Mississippi
yeah.
State. He picked off Kellen Mond, who's now on the Browns, for a pick 6, and when he scored, he just threw the ball at the end zone. It ricocheted off the back and hit me in the back of the leg. So Martin Emerson
Wow, you guys are kind of connected.
almost took me out. Yeah,
You guys are almost friends.
Yeah.
Exactly, almost friends. And if I was his friend, I'd get him for Christmas some Cleveland whiskey. Cleveland Whiskey's Christmas bourbon is available now. Visit your local liquor store. Take some home today. It's whiskey without limits.
You're my friend, so you can get me a bottle of
I'm
Cleveland
about
whiskey.
to say, where's
I'm
my
getting-
bottle?
listen, 8 days of Hanukkah, you're getting 8 bottles of whiskey each.
So listen, I talked about this yesterday. It's a different kind of whiskey. Mike, have you ever had it?
Yes, yeah,
Smooth.
absolutely.
It's
a
smooth. I'm
Cleveland
not a whiskey drinker, but I found it to be very smooth. I think what we should do is we should start a new tradition. Every time there's a Victory Monday, I think we should start the show with a shot of Cleveland whiskey.
I think
That
it's,
might work.
Everybody down with that?
I think we
Yeah.
have to.
Can I have 2 shots?
I can bring my bottle in. I do have a bottle.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
bring yours in when Cleveland whiskey comes on board. Hopefully they'll send us some and we'll drink some Christmas whiskey on
Wonderful.
Yeah.
December morning.
We don't have time to wait. We want to get drunk now.
I keep a bottle in my desk
will.
I don't know if I
upstairs.
get
Of Cleveland
drunk,
whiskey?
You guys want? I'll run up. I keep a bottle in my desk upstairs.
Bull's like,
You guys
whoa,
wanna
whoa.
go get it?
First time I seen any restraint. We're not talking about getting drunk here. That's not. It's not this type of program.
Bull is a very responsible. I don't know that you
Yes.
did you have a you didn't have a beer at my place,
No,
did you?
No,
I
I-
don't really
Whoa.
drink.
He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't drink at the
the dinner.
event, at
What's
the dinner.
wrong with you, dude? Why don't you drink to have a good time like we do?
Peer pressure at its worst.
They could be every time.
All right, let's Cleveland whiskey. It is legit.
Cleveland whiskey. And
I'm
you
gonna
can
do
see
that.
Bull at the Clevelander on Friday, by the way. Just
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
remind everyone.
he'll be there not drinking.
Friday at
Teetotaler Bull.
There you
Hey,
go.
look at that.
I love that graphic.
You got a
Wow.
graphic and everything?
Adam the Bull live at the Clevelander Bar and Grill. Now wait a minute, is there going to be food involved there for you?
Absolutely.
How is it that you're going to have food and we're going to be here eating
Well,
nothing?
after the show, you guys are all invited to come down
Man,
for lunch.
I can't come down there. I wish
Nice.
I could. I have too many obligations.
Well, there you
with
go.
Channel
I can go.
Get rid of one of your
I can go there
obligations.
I
immediately.
wish I could.
Tell somebody else.
Oh, you know what? One of the obligations is I'm doing a Zoom, and this is going to be interesting for us too because we've got to take more of a gambling edge. January 1st, it's legal here,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be moderating a panel discussion on that, how it's going to go, what the parameters are. Also, there's a big push. You know, they got to make sure that in their ads that they talk about being responsible. You know, don't bet anything that you can't afford to lose. But one of the things that I want to do, and I hope maybe we can get Jack or someone, MGM, one of the local casinos, at some point, I want to have a guy, an expert in from either the Jack or MGM or one of these locals. Mike, we have to set this up. I'm a lifelong sports fan, but I'm not a huge gambler. And there's a whole vocabulary in casinos.
Yeah.
There's a whole vocabulary that I'm kind of
For which
embarrassed
sports?
for betting.
Oh,
There's
I
a
mean,
vocabulary that
I
I
used
just
to be a
don't
big
understand. I know you
gambler,
were, and you
so-
could probably be that guy,
Yeah.
but like
It'd be
the
charming to have
parlay
someone in
and
from the place to
there's
explain it
so
to us.
much
Yeah.
to it, and I'm not alone. I had a discussion with a number of guys last week where they said, "I'm seeing these commercials, and they're telling me all this stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't know anything about it." We're newbies to this because it's never been legal here.
When I was at the Browns tailgate, I was with Jonathan Peterlin, and we spent the first half hour of the show being like, why is this confusing? Like, why would you say plus but then have minuses there too? Why don't you just say everybody's -6 instead of some plus
Which is
or
a
minus?
great question. Why do they do that?
And why is everything based on $100? What is 119? Like, if you're minus 119, does that mean if you
bet 100, you win 119.
But why is
Right.
No, that's
But-
incorrect, Mike.
See, look,
Mike,
here
I
you
don't
go.
know.
Okay, explain it, because
No,
that's what I always thought it
You're
was.
minus 119. You got to bet 119 to win
yeah,
100.
sorry, I had it backwards.
Oh, okay.
But we want someone from the casino wearing a cool bow tie,
Right.
like a
Come
riverboat
in here.
gambler-looking person
I
to
will-
explain these
explain
things
it
to
to
us.
I'm actually good friends with the person who would be the boss of that person, so I'll reach out.
We need to do that, Mike. And I don't know what's the biggest one. I think the Jack's the biggest one, right?
Well, Jax is the local one. FanDuel and DraftKings are way bigger than
Right,
Jack's.
but like
and
there's
they're not gonna come
MGM,
in.
there's a couple of other places.
And there's others getting into the mix once.
Yeah.
January
Yeah, I know
starts.
there are.
I'm
Yeah,
starting
they're
my
out.
own. I am starting my own.
Mike Polk Sports.
My sports book.
Mike's book.
It's a little under the table. but
Mike's looking for muscle if you got anybody out
anybody's
there.
hiring. All my friends have back problems. So if you're healthy.
You don't have
Let
a
me tell
problem.
you a real quick funny. I don't know if I've ever told the story before on the air. I might have told it on the radio, but so there was a time in my teens and early 20s where I was a big gambler.
Yeah, you had
But
told us
I
that once.
mostly did poker, casino, poker with friends, casino, and horse racing.
I'm surprised you wouldn't be big on.
I wasn't really much of a sports bettor because I loved sports, and at first I was going to try to keep that separate from my gambling.
Right. But that's where your knowledge base is.
Yeah, well, eventually I did get into it, and I did it illegally with a bookie and
Sure.
some shady situation in Brooklyn, right? This is 30 years ago. So there was one time I had bet a ton of money during the week, and I was down a lot. And it came down to Sunday Night Football, and I basically did a double, basically
Get it all back in once.
try to get it all back and break even, or I was going to be down
What kind of money are we talking about? Is that personal or
you
in
know
the
what?
hundreds
It's so
or in the thousands?
It was. I think I was going to be down 2,000 if I had lost, which was way more than I could afford.
So you're the
and
reason.
I was like 19 or 20, and
Yeah.
I would have had to gone to like my mom for help.
Yes. You're the
Right.
reason they put the disclaimer on the end of the commercials.
Yeah.
you
know,
were betting money you didn't have to lose.
I was, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'll never forget this. The Niners were playing the Saints on Sunday Night Football, and or maybe it was Monday. I say I never forget it. Now I can't remember if it was Sunday night or
Yeah,
Monday
it was
night.
a primetime
It was
game.
a night game. And
Which
but
is always the heaviest bet
Yes.
because that's a chance to get your money back.
And I bet on the Niners, and the Saints quarterback at the time was Bobby Hebert.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of the game, I had the Niners were covering, and the Saints needed a touchdown. A field goal was gonna, but if they scored that touchdown, I was gonna lose and all the money, and I was screwed. And Bobby Hebert, it's like the last play of the game. There's like 5 seconds left. The Saints have it on the Niners like 5-yard line or something. And Bobby Hebert drops back to pass. And I'm watching this game. I was sweating like a pig. I'm like, please, God, somebody pick it off. Stop it. I'm like screaming. And Bobby Hebert has all day to throw. He's running around. And it gets knocked down incomplete. And I go nuts. And I'm screaming. And my mom's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. It was just a great game.
So you then
I
broke even for
And
that.
did you-
or I lost like $50, whatever.
yeah.
But I
Did you-
basically
did
broke
you-
even.
Did you stop at that
I
point?
did, believe it or not. I have not bet on a sporting event since that game.
Wow.
Taught
Now,
you a lesson.
I still continued to bet on horses and other things, but I never bet on a sporting
Now,
event since that
I'm
game.
fascinated that
Stunning.
you bet on horses because to me,
I loved horses.
I know, but I have a friend who also had a problem, and that was his thing
Yeah.
too. And I always used to say, dude, you know so much about baseball
That's
and
crazy.
football.
I
Why are
should
you
have bet
betting on
baseball.
horses? You don't know jack
Because there's
about
something more
baseball.
romantic
I should
about
have
it?
bet baseball
Yes.
because I would have cleaned up on baseball.
I do think that with your baseball knowledge, you could always come out
I
on
should
top
have cleaned
with
up,
baseball.
and I was stupid that I didn't. But
don't
and
get back into it now.
Like no. But I learned horse racing, but I was no expert.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I learned enough
You
to
just
get
had more-
by.
Did you ever
fun
bet
doing
highlight?
I never went that far.
I had friends that
That's
did that.
that's when you know you
I
got
go,
too far.
that's the equivalent of doing crack in
Oh,
the
yeah,
alley.
my-
Yeah.
I had friends that did it.
Highlight.
I had friends that did it. They used to have one in Connecticut when I worked there.
Oh,
in the
yeah,
early
that was the big
90s.
one, yeah.
This is before I came back home to go to Columbus.
That was shady
And
as
then
hell.
it was so great. You smelled like cigarettes when you
Oh,
pulled
my
into the
God.
parking lot. You just like,
But I
what's
used
going
to go
on here?
in New York, in Brooklyn. I don't know if these are around anymore, but they used to be. You'd have OTB, off-track betting.
Yeah.
And I would, and though you wanted the biggest collection of degenerate scumbags
You aren't kidding.
on the
Oh,
face of
yeah.
the earth.
You aren't kidding.
There's always one guy screaming, "It's a fix! It's a fix!" And maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But every time he loses, and I lost more than I won. But there was one day out of the Breeders' Cup, a friend and I partnered, and we hit 6 out of 7 races, won a ton of money.
Wow.
If you want to bet in Ohio, the time has arrived, Ohio sports fans.
Yeah,
Sports
January
betting is
1.
going live.
Yeah!
January 1st. Download the BetJack app today, so you'll be ready to go all in on all the action. BetJack.
Let me give
It's Ohio Sportsbook.
So, BetJack did something very smart.
And Aditi's hopping on in 1 sec, so you
Okay.
got a minute here.
They made in their casino, and I don't know if you guys probably haven't seen it yet because it opened late last week, but it's open now. You can go and do fake betting. But
Learn how to do it.
learn how to do
Yes.
it, and there's no money involved. But here's the beauty of this place: it looks like a Vegas sports book.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
got a theater feel to it.
Yeah.
It's got like 40 or 50 seats, all the monitors you would need. I can envision for the first week of March Madness. First of all, the NFL playoffs, the college football bowl games, the
Yeah.
college football,
Yeah.
like all that's going to be fair game this year. And I'm
it's gonna be great.
hoping that really pumps some life into the casino
No
because
doubt.
but the app is kind of crazy. You can just sit at your house.
It's amazing.
And you can punch in your numbers and you can bet from the comfort of your own home if you want.
I think you could. I'm not sure that they'll have it with their app specifically, but I know with some things you could bet on like a pitch in baseball. Like, is it going to be a strike? Is it going to be a ball?
Are you kidding me?
You
Yeah.
can do that. You could also bet. One of my favorite bets to make is over/under on first rush. So, like, will Nick Chubb's first rush be over/under 2.5 or 3.5
I mean, you
yards?
could bet on anything.
Literally
as
every
long
play
as
of
you,
the game.
as long as you don't bet, as long as you're in control and you're just having fun with it, it could be great.
Remember when
A lot
that
of fun.
used to just be the Super Bowl where you could bet on
Yeah.
those little
Right.
prop bets
Yeah.
for those
Oh,
weird
yeah.
things
Now
and
there's
stuff like that,
everything.
and now it's
I mean,
for
you can bet on
all.
anything.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Adam Silver he's the godfather of this.
Oh, he's
Because
the best commissioner.
for about 10 years ago, he came out and said the unthinkable. Now remember, at the time, you weren't allowed to give point spreads on ESPN because they were in business with the
Right,
NFL.
right,
And
sure.
the NFL's like, no gambling, no
Yeah.
gambling.
Right.
And Adam Silver wisely looked at the landscape and said, guys, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
The whole idea is to generate interest in our games, grow our audience, and build our ratings.
Yeah.
Do you understand the impact that legalized sportsbook would have?
Right.
And so all of a sudden, everybody, I remember we debated it that day on ESPN.
Yeah.
And it was a fierce debate. I can't remember who was on which side, but one of our debaters was like, this will kill sports. It will ruin sports.
No way.
And the other person was like, you know what? This is outside the box thinking. It's breaking the paradigm. It's going to keep sports alive forever.
Yes.
And make them more relevant than ever. And Adam Silver's the guy who said, why are we running from this? And now you've had the NBA All-Star Game in Vegas. There's an NFL franchise in Vegas, which once upon a time, Paul Tagliabue
Hockey team in Vegas.
told us at a news conference that will never, ever, 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 ever happen.
Yeah.
Hockey team is Vegas. They're going to have a baseball team. They're going to have
NBA
a
team.
basketball team.
No
It'll probably be LeBron's. They're going to have all four major sports
No
in Las
doubt.
Vegas, and it's all because
I
of
think
gambling.
the fact that it's becoming legal in most states, all the good states.
Yeah.
The
real states.
Yeah, these rinky-dink states that have nobody in them. I think it's gonna. I think it's the game's more above board because if it's legal, you're less likely to have shady. I mean, there'll still be some shady people.
Yeah,
involved.
there's still,
But-
if you can bet on first run,
Yeah.
whether it's over 3.5, like Nick Chubb can look at that and say, I could take a knee for, you have some buddies drop
Nick Chubb would never,
$10,000.
but other guys, yes.
Bad example for Nick Chubb.
Aditi would never compromise
would
the
never
integrity
take a
of
knee.
something like that. Let's bring on Aditi.
Aditi, would you take a knee for $1 million? You would. That sounds
Take a knee?
inappropriate, but it wasn't. You missed the rest of that conversation.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
we were talking about gambling, how
Aditi looks horrified right
because
now.
you can bet on.
Well, I mean,
Yes, he does.
I just got sent a message about Deshaun Watson's accusers attending this game, and
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm late because we just had an hour-plus long conversation and solved nothing about how we are approaching this game.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, I want to hear about
yeah,
that.
Television-
now we're
network
talking
television
about
meeting
taking
then.
She was like,
and that's
is Kaepernick
so-
back? I thought we got that out of the system.
I'm curious, Aditi, as from your perspective, because as just a fan, forget my being a radio or TV person. As a fan, and I'm watching the game, I don't care about it at this point. I don't want to hear about it on the broadcast. And I think that the majority of fans feel that way. But in the same vein, you probably feel like it can't be ignored. I don't know.
It
What do you
can't be
think?
ignored, Bull.
It can't.
Okay, so I think that there are multiple layers to this. And one of the things I'll say is that, yes, at some point there is exhaustion with that. How many years later do we talk about accusations against Tyreek Hill? Do we talk about accusations against Joe Mixon? Do we talk about accusations against Ben Roethlisberger? Do we talk about the time that Mike Vick served? There is a period of that. I acknowledge that. But I also think that how do you possibly, it's a normalization, right? How do you normalize someone as only, and maybe normalize isn't the right word, how do you say that someone is only a football player and only talk about the football piece in his very first game back when he hasn't played in, 700 days? And part of that was by his choice, which is part of the story, his engineering his way out of the city that he will be in, that he's playing. How do you ignore that part? And then this other piece, how do you ignore it when it was largely one of the largest stories in the NFL, and when it is part of the environment that we will be in? Simply as journalists, there will be protests, there will be signage, there will be boos, the same way that when I was in Miami 2 days ago and MVP chants are taking over the building, and we acknowledge those MVP chants in our broadcast. If there is something that is different, how do you ignore it? How is it not part of the environment, part of the story?
It is part of the story.
Should Deshaun Watson throw for 450 yards and the Browns win? Part of the story is that he did it in this incredibly hostile environment in his return to the city where all of these things happened. You don't ignore it then, so how do you ignore it beforehand?
You can't.
It can't be ignored for sure. It is a difficult. I think finding that balance, Aditi, is probably why your meeting lasted an hour and didn't settle anything, because I'm sure there are folks on one side of it that say, look, like Bull, we're here to do a football game. We're not here to try to solve social issues or to debate his guilt or innocence. That part of it is behind. But then on the other hand, to your point of environment, where is a big part of the story? Where is this game being played? And what is that environment like? And that is going to be a really tricky mix. I'm sure you guys will get it right because you're going to talk this out, and it hopefully will be somewhere in the middle where it's discussed. It's not the main storyline to the game, but it is a thread. And I think also what happens in the game determines
and that's exactly it. There's no right answer. You know, there will be someone watching who says, I don't care. I just want to know whether he can throw the ball better to Amari Cooper or David Njoku or, you know, whether the RPOs and the bootlegs make a difference in the way this offense functions. There will be people who say that. There will be other people that say, why are you only talking about the way that he throws the ball and how this offense is more dynamic with him in it? So it's striking the right note. It's finding the right balance. And this specifically is such a dicey, weighty conversation, because let's remember where Mike Vick was charged in a court of law and served time. This is just not so neat and clean. It just doesn't go in a neat little clean box like that. And these are accusations. These are allegations. And none of us have ever felt like there's any sort of really clean resolution in the way that you even address it. So Spiro Dides, who I really feel for, you know, our play-by-play guy, we just went through a whole 15 minutes talking about the NFL's ruling versus what's happened with the grand jury, and is it our place to even get into any of that? And let me just say this, none of us wants to. I mean, we want to call a football game, right? Like, we want to talk about football.
Yep.
But part of the magic of football is that there are storylines that transcend what happens in between the lines, and I had the opportunity to be a big part of one of those stories this past weekend with Tua and the coaching that he has received and the way that that has changed. And it's all interconnected. All these threads, it's all connective in some way. But again, you know, like, to me, part of this story is the way that Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett have co-led, the way that they have somehow danced with each other. And I was telling this story going back to the preseason. I mean, I remember a game where Anthony Schwartz, who, P.S., kudos to him and kudos to the way that he played on Sunday and the way that he stuck with it and refused to go in a tank. But Anthony Schwartz in this preseason game dropped, I don't know, a third ball in a row. And he comes over to the sideline to apologize to Jacoby Brissett. And not that Jacoby was done with him, but it was Deshaun who pulled Anthony Schwartz aside and talked to him and sort of taught him a little bit. Look, this is the way you want to turn, and this is how you want to deal with a pick or whatever it was. In fact, I don't think it was a drop. It might have been an interception that happened because I don't even remember exactly.
No, you're right. That's what it was. He quit on a route, Aditi. He quit on a route.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. But it was Deshaun. Thank you for bailing me out there. This is great teamwork. It was Deshaun who took over let me teach and lead and guide. And the way that these men have worked together, the way that Jacoby talked about that great red zone throw to David Njoku and how they were in the room and Deshaun and Josh Dobbs are telling him, no, this is indeed a great play, even though Jacoby himself didn't really love that play right there. And so that's part of this story. I don't know that, you know, a bow has been tied on everything that Jacoby has done in the first 12 weeks of this regular season, where Mary Kay Cabot, the brilliant Mary Kay Cabot, writes a story where she has no less than 4 people saying he's their favorite quarterback that they've ever played with.
Wow.
You know, like, so there's a lot of storylines to this game that you want to get into, that you want to share, that you want to educate viewers and fans on. And the truth is, in a game like this, you've got Texans fans and you've got Browns fans. This isn't a national game where you're talking to the audience at large. Yeah. You're talking to people that know these teams inside out. So to your point, Bull, a Browns fan is probably sick of the Deshaun Watson extracurricular conversation. But how do you not get at it in some way? How do you not do some sort of storytelling beyond just the X's and O's on the field?
No, you have to.
Aditi,
you need to give those fans something extra.
Let me ask you this question. You were around during the time of Ben Roethlisberger. Generally speaking, when stuff like this happens, people are going to ask your teammates questions. Did that galvanize them to a certain extent? Did they use it to their advantage of as far as just being like, hey, it's us against everybody else?
I would say that is not here. I got Pittsburgh, I guess 8 years Ben Roethlisberger's career. So that was all back sort of in his past, the motorcycle accident, accusations, what happened in Milledgeville, Georgia. There were certainly questions about Ben Roethlisberger's radio show and the way that he led. And yeah, teammates had to answer those questions. And as opposed to galvanizing them, I think it was just a frustration, sort of a distraction, a side note, which is part of why Ben Roethlisberger ultimately dropped that radio show. I don't know. I think it will speak to Deshaun Watson, the leader that he is, the teammate that he is, who he is in the locker room, to what it does for a team. I'll just go back to, I remember the preseason game in Jacksonville where there were lots of boos, lots of catcalls, and Joel Bitonio asked about it in the locker room afterwards, said, hey, that's going to be all year. It'll be us against the world. And so at that time, clearly the Browns offense felt like, well, he's one of us, and there you go. And I know that that's a point that Jay Feely made in our conversation. He was in NFL locker rooms for, 13, 14 years. And he said, there were certainly teammates that maybe didn't live their life the way that he wanted to live his life, that he necessarily agreed with. But inside that locker room, it's sort of, what do you bring to work and what is your productivity at work and what do you offer to that team? I don't know. Again, this is so hard. I'm not absolving anybody of anything, but I think if there's a lesson from the whole Ben Roethlisberger situation, football fans want to win. They want to cheer on a team that does well and that wins. And a lot can be, I don't know if you just snorted or sneezed, but whatever it was. I think that.
Aditi, my sneeze aside, we were before giving best case scenario, worst case scenario for the Browns. What is your realistic? Obviously, they're 3-7, or they're 3-8. No, they're 4-7. Sorry.
4-7.
4-7. They'd have to win out to have a chance. Even if they do win out, they still might not make the playoffs, but they'll have to win out to have at least a chance. That's probably not realistic, but I don't know. What do you think is their realistic best expectations for you scenario with Deshaun, both personally for him and for the team?
I can't speak to that because for two reasons. One, I know who Deshaun Watson was the last time that he played fully. This is a young man that has not played competitive football in, again, I don't know what it is exactly, but 700 something days. I don't know. I mean, gosh, I called a game, or I was on the sideline for a game for the first time in a couple weeks, and I felt rusty. Tua talked to me. Tua, who is playing football at the highest level right now, talked to me 2 days ago about having a 6-day bye week and feeling rusty. So what is a 700-day period of time off? That I can't speak to. And the other thing I can't speak to is I don't know Deshaun Watson well enough to know how he will manage, handle what are some absolutely absurd expectations. Because let's just lay it out there. All of the baggage, all of the draft picks given up, all of the guaranteed money, all of the spotlight, and et cetera, all of that becomes justified or worth it if he wins a Super Bowl. You're not winning a Super Bowl in one start, but does he carry the weight of that? Does he carry the weight of, I need to be perfect. I need to justify my being here. I need to justify my contract. I need to justify my existence in one game? Or is he cool enough to just say, okay, you can't, the same way you can't score, 3 touchdowns on one play, you can't win a Super Bowl in one game, in, one Week 13 game. Does he manage all that really well? I don't know him well enough. I think that there's a personality component to that. I think there's a psychological component to that. And I haven't spoken to him this week. I don't know where he is on all of that.
Aditi,
but I do know that the weight of expectations are really, really hard. And how will he manage that?
Aditi, do you know, I know that oftentimes you find out that day, but do you know yet whether or not the Browns will be making Deshaun available for the broadcast team meetings when you get to sit down with players and coaches in Houston? Is that going to happen with Deshaun?
He better be. I'll be calling our buddy Peter John Baptiste and say, how are we supposed to do our job if we don't talk to your starting quarterback? I don't think there's been a single, there hasn't been a single week where the starting quarterback was not made available.
No, but this obviously isn't routine.
No, but again, he's your starting quarterback. We have to be able to talk to him about all of these pieces, the rust, what he's capable of doing, running the offense, reacclimating to the team, taking the first team reps all this week, doing to mitigate. All of it. I can't, you know what? The Browns are an extremely professional organization. Peter John Baptiste is one of the best at what he does. There's no way they can't not make him available to us.
Yeah, Mary Kay said the same thing, because we were talking about the availability of players. Tomorrow, it's expected that, as is protocol, the starting quarterback will come out and meet with the media. And Mary Kay made the point that there won't be any ground rules. They don't expect that there will be an unusually short amount of time that they're granted with him. It will be whatever its standard is. If that's 15 minutes they get with him, then that's what they get with him. And she doesn't think there'll be any restraints. I'm not saying
and I
the
think,
questions,
Jay, I do think that the Browns. No, and Jay, I do think that the Browns are especially good at this. It takes me back all the way to Josh Gordon being suspended for which time, and the first day that he showed back up, the Browns put him in front of the media. Right. And it's almost like the quicker you talk, the more you diffuse all the side chatter in conversation. And you have something real to talk about as opposed to speculation and, opinions. You actually have real quotes to use. So, absolutely. And they did it, they did it when the league decision came down, so I just think that, and I think the quickest way, to Adam's point, to move to football and to move to the game is to get past the other piece of the conversation here.
What do you think about the move by Busby to bring the alleged victims to the game? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know why they would come. It's so weird to me.
Do you remember when Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton? And Donald Trump invited.
Yeah,
right. You did bring that up?
Yeah.
Well, Mike did, and I said
it seems like the same thing.
It was because Donald couldn't fit all his victims in the building.
Is that a good look? How much of that is
not to get into politics, but this is a ploy we've seen before.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on?
It's sleazy.
To me, it feels like he's using them as props. And if he wanted to do something nice for them, why does he have to do it on a public stage? Why couldn't he just do it privately without the media and without the... It just seems like such a slimy, sleazy publicity ploy where he's actually using these women as props.
And it almost undermines the seriousness of the accusation.
Well, that's you know what I mean? That's exactly what my point is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what Mike is saying, but I would also say it's not just on him. The women are saying yes.
Yeah, it's on them too.
And most women who are victims of, who feel that, most women who feel that they have been, this is why this is going to be so hard. Yeah. Most women who have been violated in some way don't necessarily want that information out there, don't want their identity out there, don't want to feel publicly victimized again, perhaps.
Sure. Exactly.
But these women have said, yes, they do want to be seen and shown and identified. And so they have power in saying that that's what they want.
But
so,
also think about those other, sorry.
Maybe the flip side to that is that's their moment. They want to be seen too.
But what stinks is think about those other women.
I can't speak to that.
Think about all the other accusers who also settled, who are not going to be sitting in a loge at watching this guy play football. And these women are representing them now and representing their cause. And that's a bad look in itself too.
You know what? I don't think there's any right answer. And until we put ourselves in their shoes and we fully know how they feel about it, and again, and as I'm talking aloud right here and I don't have something prepared, I wish I was a little bit more eloquent right now as I say this, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's, hey, he gets this big stage. Hey, he gets to be on CBS. Hey, he gets to play in front of all these people and make all this money. Well, I want to be seen too. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not just slimy. Maybe it's not just an in-your-face thing.
We should finish. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job here. We should finish on a positive and talk about the Jacoby Brissett era, which seems to have come to an end.
Can we just finish?
Yeah, I get it. On the Jacoby Brissett era, as it comes to its end, how are we going to reflect back on it? And do you think we've seen the last of him this year?
I don't think we've seen the last of him. To quote him, it's not like he's dying. I think he's still a vital part of the operation. I think that, every time you see Deshaun come to the bench after a drive, he'll be talking to Jacoby and to Josh Dobbs. I think that both of them have enormous input in what the offense is doing. I think that Deshaun really trusts what Jacoby and Josh Dobbs see. I think part of being a teammate is being helpful in that way. I think that the same way I was just talking about Deshaun taking Anthony Schwartz aside, I don't think that you should be surprised if the cameras catch Jacoby taking a receiver aside or a back or a lineman or someone to talk about something as well. These are co-leaders on this team. And Jacoby doesn't just disappear and go live in a hole or hide underneath the bench. Do I think this is the last time we see him on the field? I don't know. Do the Browns ever at any point get up by 30? And Jacoby gets to go in? I think that's a question for, do the Browns ever play the defense we expect them to play?
Yeah, that's the big piece of this. Aditi, we got to run because we got another guest lined up.
Thanks, Aditi.
Have a great game. We will be watching. And you can breathe. You can exhale.
You are now off the hot seat.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
It is very tricky, but you handled it well. And
think what good practice we are.
Look, see?
Yeah, look at us as the preseason game to your Sunday broadcast.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the whole thing's very complicated.
Wait. Aditi, one thing real quick. I'm going to use a word that you said, beleaguered. You're in a beleaguered situation.
That's a good word.
On Sunday.
Are you going to give it the definition of that?
Did she leave before I could drop a... Wow.
She froze.
Aditi's leaving me.
Hey, I would have been gone too. Click.
She dropped it on Sunday about Tua.
Excuse me.
And no one knew what it meant. The hit was phenomenal. I'll share it. But we got Quincy now. So G. Bush, let's bring
No one
Quincy.
knew what beleaguered meant?
G. Bush, you know what
Mike
beleaguered
doesn't
means?
know what it means.
You don't know what beleaguered meant?
No, I did. I had to look it up. I do now.
Wow. That's like a freshman level ACT word,
Jeez,
bro.
I took the SATs.
We live.
Okay, there you go.
We live in
You lived in
United
Texas
States.
too long.
All right. G.
Your
Bush.
man,
You
G.
got your buddy coming on.
Hey, listen, you can't just say my man's. They acting like this is like he don't got. Like you don't got no followers, dog. Like you ain't got put no
But
work
he's
in.
your buddy.
He's your guy.
Your man's.
You booked
your
him.
guy. Listen. That's Aditi is your friend. I will say that.
True.
I don't look that good. You know what I mean?
Right? When we first had Aditi on the first
No
time
one
I
does.
brought her
Don't
on.
worry, Quincy. No one does.
Shout out to Quincy Carrier, the worst takes on YouTube. I don't know how many followers you got. 40,000, 50,000. What you got going on, man?
Yeah. Just hit 10K on Twitter. We at 36, I think, on YouTube. It's nice to be on here. I just want to point out that nobody has said anything this whole show about G. Bush having his kneecaps out. And I know this ain't the first time I've seen the kneecaps out on this show.
He always has
You know
them
your
out.
knees in front. Brother, you 6'5", out here with your kneecaps out thinking nobody gonna notice?
Hey, this is
But
high
he does it all the
fashion.
time.
This
We're
high
used to it.
fashion.
He actually-
Y'all can't say nothing. Y'all can't say nothing.
Both was in shorts yesterday.
Yeah, y'all can't say nothing. You can't. Listen, only brothers can point
He
that out.
accidentally
Look
hopped
like
out
you
of
got.
him.
You
Wait
feel
a
like
second.
you got high
We can
socks
say something,
on
but
and
I'm
some
used to it.
football
What do I
pants.
care if you wear it?
I do these.
You want to show off your sexy knees? Go ahead, show off your knees.
You want to dress like a 20-year-old boy in your jeans?
See, there you go. Hey, look, you came on start trouble.
You about to hit the club. You about to be at West 6 after this. Let's talk.
That's where he's going. As soon as the show's over, Quincy, he does it every day.
Right, but I'm
Hit the
actually,
flag.
I'm gonna start you off. Listen, are you going to drink the Kool-Aid? I've been stirring the Kool-Aid. I've been given a tall glass of Deshaun Watson could possibly go 6-0. What is the highest level of expectation? What's the best case scenario for Deshaun Watson in 6 games?
I mean, like, if you look at what he did his rookie year in 6 games, right? I think it was 21 total touchdowns, something crazy like that. Now, he had like 3-4 touchdown games. It's definitely possible that he goes off. And this offense is definitely designed in a way to where it's easy for a quarterback to kind of take over. Also, you know, he has weapons, right? This is probably the best array of weapons he's had since he's had DeAndre Hopkins, just at wide receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones is somebody who seems like he could play really well with Deshaun because he's already played well with Jacoby. And then you look at it from a running back standpoint. Like, I was talking on Twitter with some people for like hours about how much stress that just putting Deshaun Watson in that backfield suddenly puts on the defense, because right now, the Browns are 1.5 dimensional, which means, hey, if you beat us with throwing, you beat us with throwing, right? Like, they're not really respecting Jacoby in that way. You put Deshaun Watson back there, next thing you know, this becomes 5-dimensional, because now you have to worry about the running back. Now you got to worry about at the mesh point if Deshaun Watson pulls the ball out and goes the other way. Now you also have to worry about if he goes at the mesh point, pulls the ball out, runs right, and then you bite hard on that if they could float that ball over to David Njoku on top of you and maybe slip you, right? There are so many different things you have to worry about on just that one play that did not exist before that can change everything. And in football, we know that football, offense and defense have a symbiotic relationship. One benefits from the other, and one gets hurt from the other. And the offense is going to be better with it's going to be better with a higher quality quarterback with Deshaun Watson. And what you're going to have is, hey, maybe you can get into less situations where you're down 10, because every time this team has been down 10 this year, that's when it's got embarrassing when it comes to their ability to not stop the run, right? It's been historic how bad they are against the run. But you look at the 3 games where it was like that. New England, they double dipped, got up 10 after that first drive in the second half. Same thing happened in Miami. Same exact thing happened in Buffalo. That's when it got embarrassing. If you can avoid those situations with just having better offense, being able to execute better in the red zone, which is exactly what separates Deshaun Watson from a Jacoby Brissett, then all of a sudden you're talking about the defense looking better because they're in better situations. So is it possible that Deshaun could go 6-0? I don't think that's a crazy thing to think. The teams that they're going up against aren't really that difficult, right? The Texans,
chance they go 6-0.
Percentage chance, I would put it, since the defense is so bad, I would say there's about a 45% chance
You're out of your mind.
they go 6-0.
That's still very high.
You're out of your mind.
That's very
That's
high.
absurd.
What makes you feel like, okay, bull? What makes you feel like
45% chance they go 6-0? There's not a 45% chance any team goes 6-0.
Very rare. A team
The
wins
Chiefs
6 in a row.
what are the teams that you're worried about in that stretch, though, bull?
You're playing.
Well, the Bengals.
First of all, there's 4 teams.
You have the Bengals number because you match up against them
But that's
favorably,
silly.
and then the Ravens were a team you always beat with Brissett.
So the team who has beaten the team is always going to win the next time? That doesn't make any sense.
No, bull. This is not silly. They've beaten the Bengals every year almost since they've had
every year, 3 years. And then before that, the Bengals beat them. And then before that, the Browns beat them.
With Joe Burrow and a lesser quarterback.
But now Joe Burrow is playing at a Pro Bowl level.
He's beaten.
He was playing at a Pro Bowl level last year when they beat him in the second half of the season.
You're
was
right.
he not?
And
he had Jamar Chase.
He
might not have Jamar Chase this time.
He's beaten Burrow twice since his rookie year. The rookie year, the Bengals sucked.
Yeah.
Okay? The Kansas City, who's the best team in football?
Kansas City.
They don't have a 45%.
And the Bengals match up well against Kansas City. You act like football isn't like about the matchups
of
here.
course
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the matchups
no
that
team
favor
has a 45% chance of going 6-0. No team. Not even the Chiefs.
I think they have a 45% chance. If you look at the stretch, I don't think that's a crazy thing to think.
If you look at the Eagles or you look at the Dolphins or you look at some of these teams, maybe they do. But here's the thing, and you know this, Quincy, the difference between winning and losing in the NFL, in 75% of the games, it's one play. 75% of the games. I was looking at the Texans, and they have just 2 more losses than the Browns do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, I know we want to look at them as this all-time horrible team, but Quincy, when you look at their schedule early in the season, they could have easily won 2 or 3 more games, and if they did, and I know that's a big word, but all of a sudden 1-9-1 could easily be 4-7, which is exactly where the Browns are.
I got you.
So it's not like,
here's why.
Anybody can win in the NFL.
Here's what I'll say to defend my point. Though. In 4 of those 6 games, inarguably, the Browns have the better quarterback in that game. And you can argue that the offense is so much better with them. We'll see what happens. With the Texans.
Yeah, I will agree with you
They
on
have
that.
the better quarterback. Hold on, wait. I'm not done, though. They have the better quarterback in 4 of those matchups. In 2 of them, Cincinnati is a team that you match up well with because they can't do anything with Myles Garrett. You have the corners to cover their biggest strength, and they're not necessarily a great run defense team against you for whatever reason. Baltimore is a team that you played very well against with Jacoby Brissett. You can say that that's a game where it does come down to the quarterback, and they just lost to Jacksonville. Lamar Jackson, it's not like I would say Joe Burrow is definitely going to be better than Deshaun Watson, but it's not been that way for Lamar Jackson this year. He's been very inconsistent this year. So if 5 of the 6 games, you can argue that you might have the better quarterback at that time. And one of those games is against a team that you match up with well because you have pieces in their specific weaknesses. Then how is it crazy to think that they have a less than 50% chance to win those games?
Well,
that's
all I'm saying.
But to win all of them.
I think it's because the way the ball bounces in the NFL.
And the Browns' defense has been awful.
The Browns' defense has been bad, and balls take weird hops. It's not round. We know that. So you really – and
it's
Bull's,
like
Bull's
flipping
right.
a coin 6 times.
Okay, Bull, what would you put the percentage at?
Of the Browns winning
10.
all 6? 10
Yeah,
max.
what would you put?
I would say about a 5%
that's
chance.
low.
It's 6-0.
That's slightly low.
You know how hard it is to go 6-0 in the NFL? It wouldn't happen that
I'll
much.
tell you this. If they go 6-0, bro, you're coming on the Monday after the game of the last
the
last
crystal
game of the
ball.
season,
You're
going to bury Bull in the dirt.
Hey.
Because
I hope he's right. But
I hope he's right, too.
Hey, these
You're
guys,
a 50-50 shot at winning 6 in a row.
These guys act like we playing the 85. The Bears.
It has nothing to do with who they're
The
playing.
Bears. Who's
Can I
going
make
to
one point?
The Browns have
Go
played
ahead.
2 good games out of 11.
Well,
They're gonna play
I want
six.
to make one point.
That's why I'm
real
with you.
quick.
I just
come
think
on.
I don't think
Positively
45 is. I think that's too high. I think 10% is a little too low, but they haven't won back-to-back games all season.
That's
If they
right.
go 6-0,
It's
they're
not
going to have
too
to win
low.
7 in a row
It's
to end the
6
season.
wins in a row.
I'm just saying, it's a
Do we
little.
not realize how hard it is to win 6 in a row?
It actually would be 7 in a row.
I mean, but here's the thing.
All these games, outside of the Texans game where the Browns are going to be a big favorite, all of these games, the Browns are either going to be anywhere from a 3-point favorite to a 3-point dog in the rest of the games. Their other 5 games are all – the Browns can win all those games. They can lose all those
You're
games.
right.
They're all
That's
coin –
the NFL.
The odds that 5 coin toss games are going to all go their way, there's no way that's 45%.
Hey,
I don't know. We've been pretty
I'd
fortunate.
argue that we've had bad luck all year.
you can
We
argue
do.
that.
true, Quincy.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, that's
we do
true.
for
I mean,
bad. We
you
do
know,
for
I-
some decent luck.
I
It's
keep
not
thinking
just
that,
bad
too.
luck. The Browns got great luck. They were down 7 against Tom Brady, and they won. He was 218-0.
That was the first time that the ball bounced
That's
out
one
like that in
game. They
Carolina.
missed one game
Fact.
because of a missed
the
field
Browns
goal in the
defense has been
55
trash in 9 of 11 games.
Well,
That's a fact.
You do realize the Browns have done something that was 99% sure. No team has lost the way they lost to the Jets. 99%.
And no team had ever beat Brady the way they beat Brady. No
Never.
team.
There
In
you go.
218
There
games.
you go. See, here's the problem.
So it evened out.
Here's what. By the way, you can tell Bull is brilliant. By the way, did you see the heel turn? He was optimistic, Bull, last week.
Wait a second.
He
Hold on.
picked.
I have been optimistic the
I don't
whole
think he's
way.
not
I like
optimistic.
this team.
Yeah, Quincy,
I'm
he's
getting
not.
bogged
You're
down
right.
on the 45%.
He said
He just
5-1.
don't think
I
they're
did
going to go
say-
6-0.
I did
think
say
he
they could
probably thinks
possibly
a
go
4-2.
5-1, but I would never say it's a 45% chance of 6-0. But let's get over the number. I'm bogged down on it.
We'll get over that. What other point do we want to make?
I
coming
like
into
the
this game?
optimism. I do like the
look,
optimism.
I say that we're all dismissing Houston like they're a Division III college team.
They are.
The fact of the matter is that I just gave you the example. They're 1-9-1. They have 2 more losses than a Browns team that's playing with a new quarterback.
But they've cratered the last couple of weeks.
They have looked bad the last couple of
built
weeks.
to lose. Like
Well,
that.
it
Chris,
looks
who
like that's
playing
what
at
they're
quarterback
doing.
for the Texans
Yes.
this week?
It looks like they're tanking.
Who's going to play?
Who
Who's
is
quarterback?
playing?
I think it's Kyle Allen, I believe.
Good Lord.
No.
Okay.
It could be Allen Kyle for all I know.
No. Come on.
I could have just made up a name and you guys wouldn't have known.
That's why we don't care about them.
I heard it's Trevor Sampson starting.
But guys, can you imagine
making
though if
these
it's an
up.
L?
That's
Can you imagine where this franchise is going to be next Monday?
Yeah.
If it's an L.
Yep.
I mean, the
Same
Browns
place they
have
were
lost
after the
some
Bills
historically scrubby quarterbacks over the years.
Where's the
but
rust
they're gonna
factor? Like, there's a lot of people that talk about the rust factor. I've been a little more bullish on that. I've been like, hey, look, he has not played in a very long time, 2 years. But I will add, Kevin Stefanski's playbook is meant for it makes people look good. Like, you're going to run the ball. You got play action. He's not going to be back there in 5 wide throwing the ball 90 yards. Kevin Stefanski's playbook can make good quarterbacks look great and average quarterbacks look good. I don't think he's going to look that crazy. What do you say?
I think the rust has been something that's kind of become a talking point that's like grown on top of itself. I think, yes, it will be a factor. Is it possible he could have a bad couple of drives? But I don't think he's going to look like a completely different quarterback for like 2 games like people are making it seem like. I think this is something that most dudes seem to shake off. Like, you know, now we've never seen a case at quarterback that long Deshaun Watson has, right? Like 600, 700 days. But we have seen it at left tackle, right? I forget his name, Trent Williams on the San Francisco 49ers went a similar amount of time without playing. He got better when he came back, right? Now, left tackle is not the same as quarterback, but it's still a very complicated position to play in the NFL. And some of this stuff is just in muscle memory. And once you get, like, if we've done something for a very long time, it doesn't take that long for us to get back into it, right? Like, it's kind of just muscle memory at that point. There are going to be some mistakes. There are going to be some fumbles that he's going to have that he normally wouldn't. There are going to be some interceptions that he throws that he normally wouldn't. There are going to be those things that pop up, and the rust won't be like a 2-week thing. It's going to be something that pops up in this whole course of him trying to get back and acclimated. But I don't think it's going to be something that's going to overpower his play to the point to where it's going to dip into the negative, right? Like, I don't think the rust is that big of a factor. It will pop in and out. There will be certain mistakes. Like, he's not going to be as comfortable in the pocket. That's something that you just got to get used to in the NFL. He's not going to see certain things as clearly, but I don't think it's going to be like he's a different quarterback. I think he'll just have a couple of slow drives every once in a while because he's trying to get used to different looks that he didn't see or wasn't anticipating or hasn't seen in a while. I think that's where the rust kind of pops in.
This crowd is going to be one of the most hostile we've seen probably since Michael Vick came back. What impact do you think, if any, that will have on his play? Because it's going to be his old house, and he's going to be the enemy of the state.
There's 2 types of reactions usually to that type of crowd environment, right?
Yep.
We've all seen players that have shriveled under that environment, and then there has been LeBron, right? Every time LeBron came back to Cleveland, I want the fans to stop booing because it made him go off for even more points. He would just go off for 60 on us just because. Y'all booing, you know, let me hit this 3 from this specific spot in the key, and then boom, it's over.
Yeah, he
right?
heard it as
So
cheers.
we'll find out about Deshaun because that's going to be a high pressure environment. He's going to want to perform greatly. It's going to be, you know, almost like a play. I hate when people say this, but it's going to be a playoff-like environment for everybody on that team.
Is he a diamond or is he a busted
Deshaun.
pipe? What do you think? Is he a diamond? Because pressure makes diamonds and bust pipes. Which one is he on Sunday?
Every situation that he's been in previous would show that he's a diamond, right? When he was in those clutch situations at Clemson, that's different. It's college. Nobody actually hated him as a human being yet. Like, it's much different than it is now. But, you know, every time he's been in that situation, he's answered, right? That's what Deshaun Watson is kind of known for, is those fourth quarter comebacks, those clutch moments. So I don't think it would be I wouldn't assume that he shrivels under this moment. If this was like Baker Mayfield, dog, I'm betting against him.
And at one point in time, you was waving the Baker flag. That says a lot.
Hey, don't criticize him for that. A lot of people were.
Were you a Baker bro?
A lot of people were.
Was he a Baker bro?
Oh yeah, we was
a Baker bro.
G. Bush was out here riding for
what's
what's his name?
I put Case Keenum in.
He had the Case Keenum cape in 2020.
Keenum
I used
cape.
to roast him all the time. He was rocking with Case Keenum. I was like, get out of here with that, man.
Yeah, that's a bad pony to bet on. Hey, Quincy, great job, man. We enjoyed you joining the group. And if by some, listen, if they every time if they get to 4-0, you're on that week. If they get to 5-0, you're on that week, and if they go 6-0,
Definitely.
you get to come in studio and sit next to Bull.
Yeah, I like the way you
Let
handle
me
it.
make it
I like
clear.
that.
I'm not saying 6-0 is impossible.
I like
I'm
that.
saying 45% is crazy.
We'll see.
There's only been
What's that
2 6-game
Jadeveon
winning streaks in
Clowney
the
clip?
entire league this year.
What'd
You're
you
right.
say?
2.
What's that Jadeveon Clowney clip they had this weekend? They didn't believe in us. Well, God did.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we're gonna play
I
that.
still don't believe in him.
All right, Quince, thanks, man.
Thanks,
Thank
Quincy.
you. Great
Appreciate
job.
Thanks, Quincy.
so
Quincy.
I like that God really wants Jadeveon Clowney to win. You know,
Yeah.
that's
God-
been a priority
God's
for him
favorites
for a
up there.
while.
Now,
It's been
I
a
don't
priority.
believe in God, but if I did, I think it would be pretty obnoxious to think God cares about you winning a football game.
Yeah.
Yeah, God is in the Middle
what?
East. He's been over there for centuries.
Yeah, he's trying to solve things.
that
He's
whole
got
thing.
bigger issues than who wins the Browns Buccaneers game.
God's like,
No,
I
he
really
doesn't.
want to help Deshaun
really
Watson's
does.
team. That's what God's saying right now.
How's this going to look? I don't care. I'm God.
So did Jadeveon think God wanted the Browns to lose the games they lost?
Apparently. Yeah, apparently that's how it goes.
Well, he must
and
have-
I've never seen anybody blame God after a game. God always
Right.
gets the
No.
credit. I've never seen anybody say, so, Tom, what happened out there?
that
Well,
is
what
so-
happened was God didn't have our back.
God screwed
that's
us,
what
man.
happened.
God got screwed by God.
That was so blasphemous. I was like, oh Lord, I didn't mean that. I had no parts in that, Lord. You didn't do anything.
What's up, Mikey?
We got 2 internet comments. We got to read it when we bring you internet comments. It's brought to us by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva, my new home, are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus benefits, packages, paid time off, and signing bonuses. You can apply online at precast.com/careers.
Hip hop, hooray! PCC, hooray!
Oh my
Why
gosh.
would you
Wow.
do that
That
to
was
our
rough.
culture?
Yeah.
That was
just,
rough.
I
He
feel
just
like,
hijacked your culture.
I thought that was a white guy.
you know what?
We just had
Oh
Quincy
no, I'm
on.
thinking
you
of
do that one.
we
I'm
got
thinking of what's the white rapper guy from back in the day?
Vanilla Ice.
No, not that guy.
Marky Mark,
No, what's his
Eminem,
name?
Machine Gun Kelly.
No, the guy
Just named all of them.
Beastie
Yeah,
Boys.
Jump around,
Weird Al Yankovic.
jump
House
up
of
and get
Pain.
down.
House of Pain.
House of Pain. That's
yeah.
what I was thinking it was.
It would
we're
have
gonna
been
move on
funny.
immediately from
It would
that.
have been,
D-Gat.
funny if PCC Airforce just said PCC Airforce is no longer sponsoring this show after that, right?
We're done. We've hit the
Because of
wall.
cultural appropriation.
yes.
Two comments real
whitewashed
quick.
everything.
No, just appropriate it
I
right.
have? I'm not even white.
No, my favorite part was the
Yeah, that did it. That is done. We can't come back from that.
Get out of here.
Donnie M says Mary Kay is a very smart woman, for sure Hall of Famer. We agree, Donnie. And D. Grat, worst case scenario is winning 5 in a row with a chance to win the NFC North and getting smoked by Pittsburgh
or the
in the
AFC
final
North.
game.
We're in the AFC North.
Yeah.
Did I say NFC?
Yeah.
He said AFC. I
He
read that
did.
wrong.
Okay, he got it right.
He said it
Your
right.
screw
That's
up.
it.
So
That would be
let's
classic.
talk about that for a second. I'm glad you brought that up. So
Let's blow off final takes.
I read a
if you
piece
do.
Yeah,
yesterday.
no, we'll do.
No
Paul, do
final
you have a final take you have to do today?
No.
Okay.
All right, then we'll do this. Yep.
At 10-7, we've just made the assumption that 10-7 isn't going to be a rubber stamp.
No, it's not.
Let's talk about the scenario where they finish 10-7 but don't win the division. I don't see how they get in as a wild card.
It's possible, but unlikely.
But all the teams that are going for the wild cards have beaten us, with the exception of Cincinnati
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the Patriots. The Patriots beat us.
We can all agree it's a pretty stacked deck at this point.
Yeah.
It-
but
No, it would be about those teams not getting to 10 wins, some of those teams.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's already how many of them at 7?
Right.
Right, but those teams some of those teams aren't that good that they couldn't go 2-4 in their final 6 games. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying it's
Right.
possible.
Here are the teams. We'll go through them real
Well,
quick.
Baltimore's got one
I
winning
loved
team
seeing.
on their
I
schedule.
loved seeing it, the graphic before we even won the game the other day that said "in the hunt." And it was the Browns at 3 and 7.
That's going to creep. That's
Did
going
you
to
know
creep
every
every
team in
win.
the AFC is still in the hunt besides Houston? Literally every team
Wow.
besides Houston is
In the hunt.
In the hunt.
That's not unusual. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
Yes,
that's
it
the
is.
NFL.
This late in the
Who
season?
in the NFC is out?
Oh, there's multiple teams because the Rams are officially eliminated. The Bears are officially eliminated.
Officially?
Yes, at 3-9 and 3-8, neither of them can still reach the playoffs.
See, I like
Yeah,
it.
3-9.
In the hunt is like my credit score. I'm there. Like they ain't gonna straight
Knocking
turn
on
me
the
down
door.
for no
Did
house.
you guys watch
Knocking on
Monday
the
Night
door.
Football last night? It was funny. Joe Buck said, it doesn't matter which network we work at.
Oh, yeah.
When
Right.
they show the playoff picture, They always have division winners, wild card, and then everybody else. It's always referred to as in the hunt.
Yeah.
And he's like, can we come up with something else? Does it always have
You know what else
to
is
be in the hunt?
interesting?
It's part of our souls.
Joe Buck suggested sniffing around.
I know. Sniffing around. That was good. I like that. I love that.
I thought that was great.
He would have never
By the
done
way,
that on his
Sniffing,
own.
because right now the Browns are sniffing
Yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
By the way, Jeff Saturday, hand in your genius credentials. You just blew that game, my friend.
You know, there was a lot
Ouch.
of talk about his
Good thing
misuse
he's not
of
using
timeouts.
analytics.
There was a lot of
Those
talk about
naughty
his
analytics.
misuse of timeouts at the end of the game. Not calling one there when he should have called one.
Yeah.
They were the inferior team. They're not a good team. Neither is Pittsburgh. They could have won that game. I thought the problem I had with Jeff Saturday yesterday was there were too many stretches where Jonathan Taylor was invisible.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I don't know why they waited so long to get him involved in the game plan. Jesus, he's your whole team. Just let him run the ball.
I don't know that they're the inferior team. I think they're equal, and they were at home.
Listen, I know you kill the Steelers. I know you do. But
Yeah.
I've only watched 3 full games of Pickett. I'm seeing improvement every time I've seen him, I've seen major improvement.
I thought he was awful against
Running
the
game
Bengals.
is starting to get going a little bit.
It is. Just remember this.
It's got
Just remember
Watt
this.
back. He was
when
gone
Peyton
for a
Manning
while.
was a rookie, he set the rookie record for the most interceptions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to become Peyton Manning. What I'm saying is, in that system, with the infrastructure he has around him, I don't think this Steelers team is as bad as their 4-7 record is. I don't. I know you
we'll
do.
See. We'll
I
see
know
as
you
time
do.
goes by.
Yeah.
But I'm not a believer in Kenny Pickett. I don't think. I mean,
he made some throws yesterday, though. And how about the catch that Pickett? Did you see the ball? It was down the right sideline. I don't know how he got 2 feet in bounds. It was kind of like Harrison a little bit. He was,
He's got. I mean, obviously he's got 2 really good receivers and a really good tight end. I don't like his backs. I think Najee Harris is Trent Richardson 2.0. And their offensive line is still not great. We'll see about Pickett.
It's bad.
We'll see about Pickett, but I thought he was awful against the Bengals the week before.
He was awful, but I just thought,
he may be good. Doesn't mean I'm right, but
I don't think the Colts are very good.
I don't think the Colts are good either.
Yeah. All right. So there is a path. You can go 10-7, and there's still a path for this team to get a wild card.
But if the Browns go 10-7, then they have a reasonable shot to make the playoffs.
By the way,
but even that's not a guarantee. Far from it.
The playoff calculator is between 4 and 7%.
Yeah.
So now you have to go 6-0. If you go 5-1,
you have 0. I mean, you have like no chance.
You're just not going to make it. At 9-8, 9-8's not going to make the playoffs. So they're saying,
unless both the Bengals
6-0.
and Ravens also
the reality check will come because they play the Ravens before the Bengals, right? They'll know right then what they're talking about because they would have to beat the Ravens. And
they lose to the Ravens. They're eliminated from the division.
I think the Ravens are beatable.
The reality check is Cincinnati.
I agree with you.
It's 100%. I mean,
that's the most difficult game left on the schedule.
And that's when we're going to determine whether this is one of those shows that we look back on in a month and we are just laughing our asses off. Where everybody's just like 6-0. I'm telling you, go through this, and that. So this is one of those shows I can already feel.
If you think about it, this is funny. Aditi, I won't put her in the 6-0 camp. She said, could they do it? Yeah, they could. But what's funny is there were 3 people on this show who I respect a great deal. G. Bush, Mary Kay, and Quincy are all saying, hell yeah, they can do this 6-0. Not like, is it possible? Yeah, but it's a long shot. Mary Kay seemed more in than you.
Yeah, she came.
Well, she said in the end that they'd go 4-2. She
said they could.
But she said all of these are winnable games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it.
Again, any team going 6-0 is very unlikely.
It's very, very.
We've had 2 6-game winning streaks this season.
We're on the verge of 2 others. Miami has won 5 in a row. Philly's won.
So
5
that would be 4 through 13 weeks. I mean,
and none of them.
And those are all much better teams.
It's highly unusual.
And who aren't starting with a quarterback who hasn't played in 2 years.
That's right.
But it works 2 ways, though. They haven't seen him play, and they don't know what the heck he's going to look like with Kevin Stefanski.
I don't know if we have enough time for this. Tag board. Can we show the Browns locker room celebration? The Browns sent it out there.
Hey.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Give me 1 sec.
Okay, it was Kevin. Did you guys see that?
They're
Kevin
usually
Stefanski's
pretty chill about
post-game
that stuff.
Yeah.
Did you guys? What was your thought on that whole scene in the locker room?
I think winning a game like this against Tom Brady really it gives you cachet. I don't care if Tom Brady's 100. They looked at Kevin Stefanski and said, "Okay, you've been asking us to do this. We have not been able to get over the hump. We'll give you that credit."
I thought the celebration was pretty muted. Like I thought that. First of all, I hate to do this to him. He's just not a fire and brimstone guy. He's not a guy that's going to rally the troops.
No.
He's an X and O guy who the team can look at and say he really has a grasp of the offense, but they're never going to say, what hill are you taking, Kev, because we're behind you.
No, they're not doing that.
And what really surprised me was, in that moment, the high point of their season, I think that's safe to say, I was surprised at how muted that celebration was. Even when they gave the game ball to Jacoby, I just felt like, damn, I would have expected that locker room to be way more excited than what they were.
I think some of that gets passed down to the player, too. When you don't have a coach that's like electric like that, having a player in the locker room to fire everybody up in some way, and I don't know who that is exactly.
I don't either.
You need one or the other. You either need your coach to be that or your quarterback to be that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
By the way, the Panthers, the Steelers, and the Packers, 3 awful teams, have all beaten the Buccaneers this year. So I don't know that beating the Buccaneers is a springboard for necessarily anything.
Well, what? No, I didn't say that. I said it's the high point of the season.
No.
That's what I believe that win. Cincinnati was great, but this one was you lose and you're done. It was a playoff game, essentially.
Hey, Joe Woods in there kicking it. He like, I'm here the rest of the season.
Baby.
Hey, Deshaun Watson gave
good
me
for another 6
we
days.
Good, I'm good, bro. I'm gonna get them game
My
checks.
Twitter mentions are about to go down.
Yeah.
That's what he was excited about.
We can't play the audio of this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just, you can look it up. It's on
You
the Cleveland
guys,
Browns,
nice
Twitter page.
work. We did okay. Let's just keep pushing
I'm going
forward.
to check the numbers.
Going to look back at the numbers, but I think we all had an awesome time.
I wanted him standing on something, pointing, throwing his fist in the air, and everybody right around him and jumping up and down, and it just was like,
he has to save
yeah,
that.
we got to go out and practice next week.
His season, he has to save it. His season is Baltimore and the Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Any speech he got, he better sell or sold them weeks.
What if he got drunk right at the end of the game?
We're out of time. Overtime is next. See ya.
Get the membership. See our overtime discussion. It's going to be good. See you tomorrow.